Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Tonight, as the title says, we are going to discuss orbs. I've just got to alter Andy because for some reason Andy has just Andy, I've got to shrink you a bit because for some reason you're blocking Brendan. Right, as I said, we are discussing orbs tonight. Tonight it's a little bit special because we have got 4 guests on the channel. We have got our usual hostess with the mostess, Andy, from Elemental Encounters.
Hello.
We have got Sam from Life After Life TV Productions.
Hello, folks.
And we've got the special guest, Brendan from Orbs Realm. So we have got what you could technically class as an orb expert, and I hate to use that word, on the channel. We'll be discussing it from various elements. As you know, Sam specialises in spirits and ITC contact. Andy is his channel is devoted to elementals and the Fae. I sit in the middle and cover general paranormal, and obviously Brendan himself covers orbs. So would you like to say hello to everybody, Brendan? Hang on, Brendan's just run off to turn the light off.
Bit easier. Greetings, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and chat about my favourite subject.
It certainly is. Oh, Andy, you've shrunk again now. I don't know what's going on with your bloody camera.
What's going on?
I don't know, you're shrinking. I'm going to make you bigger again because you keep going all sizes. Right, Sam, would you like to start off by telling people what you think an orb actually is, or what experience you've had regarding orbs in the paranormal?
Well, the first time I've spotted orbs was while I was doing abandoned exploring. And the reason why those particular events stood out to me was that they seemed a lot different than flying insects and dust particles and that. Yes, you know, now and again I did make mistakes and stuff like that, but there has been those events where these light anomalies, you know, they just stood out, you know. And you know, it was last year on one of my episodes of Fort Dunree, where I asked, which I normally wouldn't do because I'm not expecting a response, can you show yourself as a light anomaly if you're here? I was in one of the abandoned buildings, and this flashing light anomaly just went straight up the room just as after I had said it. So this makes me believe that it possibly is the energy from, you know, a human consciousness of some kind, because, you know, if that occurred because of me asking the question, then this energy can understand English, you know.
Yeah. So,
you know,
so you approach from the point of view that they are spirits of the deceased.
From that one piece of evidence, which is just an opinion.
Okay, Andy, would you like to tell people your point of view on orbs and any quick experience you've had with them, or what started you off with them?
Yeah, definitely. Mate, so my first general experience with orbs was in a general paranormal team. We would catch them on camera and stuff, and then obviously you learn more about them. You know, you try and identify what, you know, might be natural occurrences with dust and airs or whatever, insects. And then we were catching some weird ones, you know, that react and, you know, sort of, that appear on our skin and stuff like that, disappear, move around and stuff like that. My most notable experience was one that come into a doorway, a rather large one on camera, and when I asked for one to come in, and he actually flew at the screen and I ducked, and it shut my camera off and I lost all my footage. Because my silly camera, if it gets shut off mid-recording, it loses that block of footage, and you're like, no! And it actually... Yeah, and it come in and it just stood still static in this doorway and kind of like looked at us all. It like kind of moved a really weird shit. But anyway, as time progressed, we kind of looked back in history on what people believe this phenomenon was, and it tallied up to what we know as the fairy folk, the ones that fly. So it will be general fairies and more likely elemental air sylphs.
So you believe they are both elemental and fae related?
Yes, 100%.
Right, Brendan. Obviously, your channel you specialise in them. So would you like to tell everybody just a quick opinion on what you think they are and what got you into them?
Okay. I'll do it the other way around.
Whichever way suits.
I got into Orbs because I was watching some videos on YouTube, and a pop-up came up, and it said something about an orb coming out of a young boy's hand. So I clicked on it, and there was 3 people, the father, the daughter, and the son, and they were splashing around in a by a puddle, and one of them jumped over the puddle, and as he jumped, his hands reached out, and this big orb came out of his hand, and I was absolutely perplexed. It was like, I need to look into this. What's the second question? What do I think they are?
What do you think they are?
Now, I've tried not to put a label on what they are. I've tried to, although I've put in some titles like angels, spirits, I personally haven't attached what I think they are yet, because my honest answer would be is I don't know what they are. What I do know is there's interaction, there's intelligence, there's energy. So from my experience with Orbs, it tells me that a phenomena is a real phenomena. It's really happening.
Right.
But what it is, I'm not going to label them because I don't know.
Right, okay. Right, now you've said you know they're a genuine phenomenon, but you don't know what they are. So shall we start off with the white elephant in the room and discuss what they definitely aren't? Shall we start with the subject of dust? So, which one of the 3 of you wants to address the dust issue first?
I'll jump right in.
Go on then.
As I was saying earlier with you lot, that dust is everywhere. You can't avoid it. Yeah. There is dust. And if you turn around as someone who's putting out what you call evidence, you have to be criticised if what appears in the picture could be dust.
Right.
What you have to do as someone who's presenting orbs, you have to show absolutely that what you're showing isn't dust by what it's doing, and that's important. It has to be doing something, not just floating around or moving, because dust has to be there. What I try and do before any filming or videoing is I will sit in my room, probably an hour before I start filming, and absolutely still. So I think it's so important that I know there's dust and I know the camera can pick it up. But what I'm showing is something that completely is not acting like dust.
Right.
On time, interactions. I see with my eyes. I've done it so many times when I'm videoing, and I see a big flash, as you was describing earlier, about when you get a really powerful thump.
Yeah.
But I see it with my eyes, and I make sure I try and point it out at the same time. So when I look back on the video, you've got the evidence that I saw it, as well as the cameras picking it up.
Yeah.
Now, I don't recall ever in my life before doing this, even when I've got a torch on, that I'd see dust just appear. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't happen.
So, do you do anything? Do you do any special preparation before you start doing a video, Brendan, or is it? Do you think you're just one of those people who attracts them anyway?
That's a good question. I never used to, but I'm definitely more mindful now when I'm doing a video. I tend, as I say, I sit quietly before, and I'm very focused on intentions, because that's important to me, intentions. My intentions with the orbs isn't to, it's not like a sideshow where I'm displaying, come and look at these orbs. The whole point for me is to say, look, something's going on that no one's really addressing. There's, I have to say, it's interdimensional. There's stuff that's going on in this place for sure that is between the realm we're living in and the realm we're not living in. Right. And it crosses over. So I think that I'm probably seeing through the veil of the crossover of these images.
So do you think, Brendan, because you know you capture a lot of them, do you think the location of where you are is now easier for them to appear? Do you think there's been some kind of thinning between them two realms?
Well, I personally think that we're spirits, we're energy, and I think that we attune ourselves to what's going on around us.
Yeah.
In the spiritual, and I feel the more open you are to it,
yeah,
then you're gonna get that interaction. So it comes from, I feel it's something from inside us.
Right. Okay, cool. Right, Andy, let's move on to you then from the elemental and fae side then. Would you like to tell everybody what elementals and fae will actually, or are more prone to appear in orb form, and tell anybody of any encounters you've actually had with each particular type, and if you've done anything special to, to encourage it, or whether it's just been as a consequence of you going about your normal investigation.
Okay. Right, so what we found, I did mention it earlier briefly, but the two types that will usually show in orb form of fae, well, one fae, which is normal fairies, right, and it's been long documented that you will see sort of like twinkling lights that corner your eye, or a ball of light, when one's coming into your frequency. That's how they portray themselves, how they show. Also, it's my belief that an air sylph, if you can bridge contact with it, would do a similar thing. Hard to identify which one you could be dealing with, although fairies are more talkative. You can double up with a spirit box or another piece of equipment or whatever. you see your air cells don't necessarily speak. It's a different kind of interaction. So my personal sort of experimentation with them has always been sort of while doing, as you know, with me and Becky practice a lot of witchcraft stuff, and we do a lot of invocations, and we have got footage of asking a ball of light to show in the middle of the room, and like Brendan said earlier, it's like we had the cameras rolling for an hour, you know, and we were all sat still, you know, because being mindful of dust, for example, and then going, right, we're going to put a little bit of music on or something, can you show up and have a dance?
Right.
And we got an absolute, so you know where you sat in my chair, in that corner, the special corner,
Yeah, the
we
special
got
corner.
the special corner, we got an orb basically manifesting into the middle of the room and took 4 twirls in air
Right.
upon asking. And I got really excited about this, you know. And I was like, whoa, there's videos on there somewhere, I think it's just privatised at the minute. But so we read little stuff like that, and for me, you know, and then nothing. You know, absolutely flat zero, nothing after that when stopping asking. You know, I've had them actual visuals as well that's correlated up to catching, you know, a light source, you know. We've even had, there's a tree in local park that one particular night me and Becky were sat on bench, and there must have been 15 light balls around this one tree moving around. Now, we didn't want to go down and film it or disturb them, you know, because there were quite a fair few, and you could see them, and oh, you know, and it, yeah. So these experiences there, you know.
Okay. Right. If you put in questions in the chat, I will get to them in a bit. I just want to cover the basics at the moment with the 3 people on. Right, Andy. So what you're saying is where Brendan tends to just have them appear to him, you have actually had encounters where you have been able to actually call for them to appear.
Call, yeah.
Right. Okay. Right, Sam. From your point of view, you've started using a lot of like infrared cameras and stuff lately, and body cams and stuff. Do you find that any orbs you've captured tend to appear on normal spectrum cameras, or do they appear on IR better? Have you found, in your personal opinion?
I'm glad you actually asked that, because I recently started using a body camera with 6 IR lights on it, and it films in 1296p or something like that. And people were saying to me, "Oh, gee, that camera's great for picking up orbs." I said, "No, it's actually dust." You know, the light anomalies that I've captured were captured on an ordinary camera. You know, yeah, you could pick them up on a night vision camera, but the night vision camera is very good at picking up every single thing that's in the air.
Yeah.
Because of the reflection coming back. Now, what I normally, you know, it's actually, I learned a lot from Brendan's channel actually, and I'm sitting there tonight. I'm actually still looking, because he does come on and he talks about different subjects, and he could be on a completely different subject, and next thing something appears in the room and he actually can see it. Now, I have never seen it. I've never seen light anomalies, except once or twice with my own eyes. Very often I've captured it on camera.
Yeah, you've actually seen it through the viewfinder rather than with the naked eye.
Yeah, I have seen light anomalies, you know, with my own eyes, but not very often. It's normally with the camera. You know, but you know, I started learning an awful lot more by actually looking at Brendan's videos. You know.
Yeah. Okay, right. We'll start with Brendan again. Brendan, what would you say are the main things for you that allow you to discount something being an actual orb, that it being something like dust? What are the biggest giveaways for you?
For me, the biggest giveaway would be the way that it moves. It has fluidity to it. In other words, its motion has a consistency to it and direction. And a lot of the time, what I capture completely changed direction and speed.
Yeah.
Now, again, for dust to accelerate speed, that means the airflow has to accelerate. Now, I mostly haven't got the heating on, so once I've been in a room and everything's calm and settled, there's no logical reason there would be gushes of air to make it move around. So for me, it's the movement of the energy that I'm filming, and not just that, also you sense them. It's a subjective thing because you have to experience it, but you feel energies, as I'm sure all of you do. When you go into a place, you can feel what that place is like.
Okay, Andy, what for you would you say is the biggest giveaways when you see something and you think, no, that is not a genuine orb?
Right. So for me, usually I'm going to be really nitpicky now. So usually, it's the footage itself. You know, like if you've got them multiple loads and loads of particles floating around, all going in one sort of direction. What you'll get on your typical phone with your torch on, kind of recording. It's quite clear what it is. I only saw one in a fairy group the other day, and it was moisture in the air. You could clearly tell, because they're prone to picking up that sort of thing. And in night vision, it can be a little bit similar as well. It's but then you'll get the really harder ones that'll be like a pulsating light that'll just appear, and it's like but it's distance as well. Stuff that looks quite close up to camera. You know what I mean? Is a bit of a suspected one. If it looks like it's got depth and it's travelling quite far, if they can pass behind objects, I'll be like, yeah, cool.
That was one of the things I was going to bring up. Is a lot of them you can tell they're not self-illuminating because they always appear at the exact same distance from the camera when they actually become visible, and they're always the same size as well, roughly.
Yeah, this is it.
Anything else, Andy?
No, I ain't got much more to add.
Right, Sam?
I think one of the interesting things is if you get a piece of footage that's in night vision that has loads of dust in it, and you see a light anomaly in that dust. Now, sometimes actually the dust helps because you can actually see the flow of air by the way this dust is moving and stuff. And then you see this object that's moving at a different speed and a different sort of direction to the natural flow of air. And when the dust is moving around, when the light anomaly enters it, it should be in some way affected by the flow, but will sometimes go straight through it with no glitches at all.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying it's not affected when they're not affected by air currents.
Yeah, I mean, like if you see a light anomaly and it takes a 90-degree turn like that.
Yeah.
If there was a rush of air, wouldn't it?
There'd be a curve. There'd be a curve as it went into the stream anyway.
Yeah. I did an experiment with a fan.
Yeah.
This was a couple of years ago, and I had the fan going full blast, and I was filming it, and when I played it back, you clearly see, as the fans facing that way, as the orb come in, I was expecting it to go whoosh, like that. It just flew straight past.
Yeah, yeah. See, that is one of the things that's convincing for me, because if you've captured something that is actually passing through an air current you can see by the general dust in the room, to me that is the biggest argument that what you're capturing there is not dust. If the rest of the dust is travelling in a similar pathway and you get something that cuts through it and continues on its same trajectory, then that is something with an entirely different mass that's going on there before you even consider anything else. Right, can I just ask a quick question, because Maureen put one in earlier and I don't want to forget it before we go on, so I'll ask Sam first. Sam, do you think that orbs are a manifestation of a spirit just before a spirit appears? Do you think they could signify the manifestation of a spirit?
I don't necessarily think that a orb is going to manifest into a spirit. I'm sort of looking down the belief that when we pass on, our energy has to go somewhere. Energy can be changed but not destroyed.
Yeah.
Now, where does that energy go?
Mm-hmm.
The possibility is that these energies is the energy that usually belong to a living being.
Yeah.
And is now released.
Okay, go.
That's the way I actually look on this, but it's just a personal belief and an opinion,
Mm-hmm. I can't believe I'm about to ask Andy this question, because I know what the answer's going to be. Andy, do you believe they're a manifestation of spirit?
Well, I'm going to throw you off with this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Right, my beliefs. I don't believe that there is a ghost thing, and spirit thing. I'm all about reincarnation and stuff. But what I can say is, in my near-death experience, we are made of what look like semi-opaque orbs.
Right.
But multiple thousands of them all travelling around in shape of body. That's what I saw in my own hand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then Einstein's theory is similar, and then they all break apart. So, I can lend that people would think that, but personally I don't, because I believe that thing goes somewhere else and carries on life again. So, yeah.
Okay, Brendan, what's your response to that question?
Well, the way I see it is, at the end of the day, it's an energy for sure. I agree, energy is, it can't be destroyed, it can transform, it can't not, once you've got an energy, its energy carries on. So I see, almost to what Sam's saying, that maybe our energy, our consciousness moves into an orb, because I find it hard to actually, again, categorize it, because I've seen so many different things going on with orbs that it's, there's lots going on, and I don't think it's just one, like an orb is definitely a spirit. An orb could be a spirit, but it also could be something else.
Yeah, so you believe orbs can be can have a multitude of different explanations.
I think so.
Not just spirits, they could be other things as well.
Yeah.
Okay, right, now Saint has just asked a really interesting question. I'm really interested to see where everybody's opinions on this one are. What are your views on colour change? White or yellow equals night spirits who are looking out for us, and black or red orbs indicate evil or negative spirits. Too much Star Wars going on there. Right, Brandon, what do you say to that one? Brendan, sorry, not Brendan.
I'm not so keen on allocating colours to what intentions could be or associations with that. I think we have an aura. We have auras, and it's possible the orb has its own unique aura. And I've seen orbs change colour as they move, which is possible. It's catching reflective light from somewhere else, and as it's moving, it's the actual light outside that's being caught up in like a refraction going on within the orb. You know, I had a green orb come out of my foot, and it was on video. You know, I don't know. I can't personally allocate meanings to colours.
Okay, Andy?
I'm more or less exactly the same as Brendan on that one. From his own perspective, anyway. But what I can say in our belief system, they do resonate with certain colours, but it doesn't mean anything in their intention if they're going to be negative or positive.
The colours in regards to elements and the Fae are more of what they are rather than what they intend.
Yes, what role they would play. Yeah, in nature. Yeah.
Right, okay. Sam?
I was thinking some similar down where Brendan was talking about, you know, and you know, possibly other lights could reflect and cause a kind of a rainbow effect or a different colour effect. You know, I don't label colours associated with orbs. I don't have any belief in that way. You know, an orb is an orb to me, no matter what colour it is.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see any representation as such, and it'd be very hard to prove it scientifically as well. You know.
Okay. Right, James has asked a question. I'm going to put this to Andy first because I know this is something Andy often comments on in a roundabout way. James says, Brett, instead of a manifestation of spirit, could orbs be the souls of recently deceased people and they are travelling, and I'll add to that for you, James, or souls in general, don't have to be recently deceased, and they are travelling into a new life to be fused. I presume it means into a body to be fused. Right, so what do you think about that, Andy?
It's a fantastic question. I believe it's possible. I've got no evidence of trying to like sort of look into that deeper. I ain't got any experimentation. It's because again it's just theories, but from what I've learned from external sources talk about this kind of thing, is that you don't necessarily see them. But you know that could be a whole new line of experimentation, and I'd be willing to give it a shot. So that's all I can say about it, really.
Okay, Sam, do you think some of them could possibly be spirits on the way in rather than the way out?
I actually was thinking about this today. Actually, I think possibly, possibly because when you think about it, we are functioning beings, independent. How does our bodies work?
Yeah.
Do you know, how do we produce this energy? Where did the energy come from in the first place? Do you know? So, I don't know, maybe possibly the energy leaves a deceased body and goes into a new body. I don't know. It was going through my mind today.
Okay.
Thinking about this.
Brendan, do you believe some of them could be souls on the way in?
No. uh,
That's fine.
only because, again, I couldn't prove, I couldn't, even as a theory, for me, I haven't enough evidence to suggest it would be that. From my own experience, again, I would say I'm edging towards I'm projecting what's going on around me. It's coming from within. So I think they're an aspect of what we are, maybe.
Okay, coke. See, for me, I'll say no as well because I believe the soul is already in place before the person is born. Andy, as will confirm this, Andy believes that the soul actually entering the body is what instigates labour, don't you, Andy?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
See, well, I believe they're in situ a lot longer before then, so, I've never actually seen an orb going into a pregnant woman's belly. They tend to be honest with you, more often than not, when you see them, they're either flying round people or out of people. But that's just the ones I've seen. You see very few of them actually flying into people. You do see it occasionally, but I tend to see a lot more where they fly out of people rather than.
Excuse me.
Okay. Victor Terrence, I attract orbs by thought. I have many videos to back this up. Any views on it? What's your opinions on that, Andy?
So, thought manifestation. Right, it's basically just like asking, it's just like asking from like what we do, isn't it? I suppose we'd have to come and have a look at videos and make a judgment on that. But yeah, I believe it can be done. And like Brendan said earlier, it's all about his intention and his intent on happening,
Yeah. Okay, Sam?
Sorry, I got my leave distracted.
Here we go. Sam's off with the fairies.
Sam failed first.
Victor says, I attract orbs by thought. What's your opinions on that, Sam?
It's very, very difficult because, I would like to ask Brendan why these things are happening around him. So, is it meditation? Is it the calmness of a person? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one.
Okay, well, we'll find out now by asking Brendan.
Yeah, I feel that all energies are attracted to our energy. If it's not a manifestation of what my consciousness is, then it's attracting energies. Now I have to say, why is it attracting them? Why do I attract these energies? I've always tried to be as open, not just minded, but open-hearted, because I think it's important that it's got to be so genuine. It's the sincerity of it, and it's hard to describe what I'm trying to say, but because of my paranormal interaction through my whole life, this orb thing, I feel I've just opened myself up to it and completely. I know they're there. I know something's going on, and I don't know. It's hard for me to answer that question in a rounded way.
Yeah. Have you all got your YouTube muted? Because people are saying we're getting a little bit of echo in the channel. I do know that Skype does actually create a bit of feedback, but just make sure you've all got your YouTubes muted.
Yeah.
Muted at this end.
Yeah, just to make sure.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, just to make sure you know that if there's an echo, there's not much I can do about it at the moment. Hopefully, we're waiting for Microsoft to bring out a new APK to sort it out, because it is a bit of a known problem at the moment. Bit of a pain in the arse, but sorry about that. But we'll do our best to try and cut it down. Nikki says, hello everyone, you've seen my orbs, Brett, what's your opinion on mine? What I would say, Nikki, is if you go to Orbs Realms channel, and if everybody wants to link their channels in chat, please feel free, and you send them to Brendan and ask Brendan for an opinion on them. Personally, I think they're quite interesting. Like I've said to you before, there's a couple of them, you know, that are quite interesting to look at. I do think a lot of them are dust, Nikki, but there are some mixed in there that I do think, you know, deserve a second look. I really do. Right. Here's one to ask you all then. Do you believe that orbs, and I know Andy's going to say yes to this question because of the nature of what he believes they are. Right, I'll start with you, Brendan. Do you believe these orbs that you witness have any kind of intelligence or consciousness in any way?
100%.
Right, what has brought you to that conclusion?
Okay. Probably over 200 examples in videos that brought me to that conclusion. Right, I will cite a list of them. Firstly, that when I've asked an orb to come to my hand and touch my finger on video, you can see an orb come along the top, comes down, and I've got my hand out like this, and it goes straight up to the finger. It's slowly. I felt it touch. It's like an electric shock, but without the shock, just the zzz, sort of. Yeah. And then it moved off. Another video, me and my daughter were sitting on the bed, and we was videoing, and this is where it gets a bit difficult for me to understand what these are. I asked for a guardian angel to show up, and within 2 seconds, this manifestation is the only way I can describe it, flew in, and Rachel was seeing it. I didn't see it with my eyes, but I was looking at Rachel, and from her reaction, I was almost panicking. I was thinking, what, you know, she's seen, and it swooped down. Now I've got it again, it's on video. Basically, when you ask with love and kindness, I normally get a response. So, yeah, like video after video where I've asked and they've come up to me. It has to have intelligence. It has to understand what I'm saying to do what it's doing.
Okay, Sam, do you think they're intelligent, or do you think it's just a manifestation of energy?
I think they're intelligent, especially, you know, my experience in Dun report, where I didn't expect anything to happen, and then I tried that same method in Cumber House, and I had a light anomaly come when I appear when I asked. So you know, when you think about it deeply, you know, you're speaking English, they understand what you're talking about, and these things are happening. So it's quite interesting.
Okay, Andy, I know what your answer is going to be.
Of course, 100%.
Right, do you want to tell people why you think they are?
Well, the idiot fairies if they weren't. No, it's just, you
I
know,
just wanted you to spell it out, Andy.
Brendan and Sam basically covered it. It works the same way our sort of thing as well. You know, it's the old sort of when you get video evidence or asking for certain things, and that happens, you know. But I was quite interested in what Brendan had to say about the little electric shock. That's true to form my beliefs with orbs as well.
Yeah.
I once nearly hit the ceiling with my head when I got touched by one.
Okay, now, talking about that, I'm going to put Sam on the spot here and ask her if she's willing to do something, and she doesn't have to if she don't want to. Are you willing to tell that story you told me and Andy, Sam, about when you were a child?
I would rather. I'm sorry. I'd rather keep that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought I'd ask first.
Yeah. It's just, sorry about that, but
Yeah. No, that's fine.
Oh no, I
That's why
understand.
that's why I asked you first, because I know stories like that are, that they can be personal for people. Would you just be prepared to say that you agree with the electric shock thing?
Oh yes, not only in that occasion, but also in a location called the Queen Ghost House, where a light anomaly passed my head, and it's something similar to putting your fingers on an old-fashioned television when you just turned it off.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of static feel, and actually I felt my hair moving as it passed over.
Mm-hmm.
So that is energy of some kind.
Yeah.
And when you think of it that way,
Okay. Right. James, the question you've asked, we actually covered earlier about whether we considered them to be spirit or whatever, but James has brought one up there that we haven't covered yet, and I'm going to ask you all: do you believe that orbs could possibly be extraterrestrial? And I'll start with Sam on this one, because
we're off for a bad start there, aren't we?
So right, folks, I know about Sam's opinion of aliens, so I thought she was the ideal one to start off with.
Yeah, the short answer, I don't think so. If I turn my frozen mind off and open my mind, I still don't think so.
Right, okay.
Because my opinion is that this is the energy of people that passed on, and their energy is released into the atmosphere. That's my belief on it, which is just an opinion and belief. That's all.
Yes, Jace, it is possible that they could all be these things in discussion. Andy?
Personally, no.
Okay.
But you can't discount some odd experiences people have had it past, like the old Foo Fighter thing, and in war they were spears, Orbis style lights, small and glowing, and so you've got to look at all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And there's a very, very prolific UFO guy. That's all I'm going to say. There's many documentaries around him, and he genuinely believes the lights that he captures that look just like some orbs we catch around his trees in his garden. He believes he's 100% alien.
Mm-hmm.
So some people believe it.
Right,
and that's all I can say about it.
Before I ask Brendan, I'm going to give you my answer. My answer is I think a very small proportion of them could be. But I don't think, in the majority that they are. So, Brendan?
Right, okay.
And be brutally honest.
Oh, don't worry about that. I'm going to be brutal. Personally, I don't believe in aliens, as in people from outer space. Or
Mm-hmm. There you go, Sam. You got a friend.
Okay, I do think that there are things going on, because I've seen it myself. I've actually seen a UFO being chased by 2 RAF fighters.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, again, the phenomena is real. I know people have real experiences of abductions, but I don't think that the orbs and that are around my house are aliens.
Yeah.
But there's definitely something going on up there as well, because I've certainly seen, again, so much stuff going on all the time. Light orbs. I've called orbs 3 times with people asked me to call them, and I called 3 times that they come above me, stopped, shone really bright, and then just shot upwards and disappeared. It was incredible. So I know stuff is going on, but again, I can't put a label on what they are or what it is.
Right, okay. Right, Adrian says, sometimes when I meditate on my third eye, I see little orbs, sparks, flashes of light. I think that they are my spirit guides or my guardian angels. What do you think? Well, I will give you my opinion on this first. I don't believe in demons or angels in any way, shape or form. I believe there are positive and negative things out there, but not demons and angels in the Christian sense. So no, I don't believe they are guardian angels. Do I believe they could be something similar to along the lines of a familiar, as in a witchcraft familiar, or a spirit in that respect, as in a guardian spirit? Yes, I think some orbs possibly could be. But as for angels, for me, it's a definite no. Let's pick the non-Christian. Andy?
Well, I'm more or less exactly the same as you on that one. And you knew that.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much what Brett said. Again, because we go down sort of the fairy realm stuff, they can be around people, they can listen, and the sparkles and the flashes and it's very, very, telltale signs. It could be one of them. It's been documented throughout the ages,
Okay, I'm going to leave Sam till last on this one. Brendan?
Right. Now, I said earlier about when I asked for a guardian angel to appear. Now, because I don't have any religious beliefs, I feel that whatever it is that come in can present themselves in a way that they feel we want to see them, possibly.
That they can relate to.
Yeah.
So do you what about the spirit guide side of things? What's your opinion on that? As guides rather than guardians.
It's a hard one. It's possible we've got spirit guides. Excuse me. It's.
Well, let me ask you this, Brendan. Have you ever personally experienced an orb that you have felt as either guarded you or guided you?
No.
Right. Okay.
But I've had, when an orb has been near me, I have felt that orb, the energy from the orb, but it's a feeling of. It's almost like a meditative state where it's just a chilled feeling. There's no complex stuff going on. It's just an energy, a nice frequency, I guess, that sort of thing.
Okay, right. Now I always like leaving Sam till last because she always forgets what the question is by the time I get to her. Sam?
Yeah. I mean, like, when it comes to, I don't say religious belief, I say spiritual belief. There's a lot of people out there, and they see orbs in their house, and they believe that it's angels. They believe it's their family that turned into angels. And people believe that when you die, you become an angel and look after the people of your family that are left alive on Earth, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, if that belief makes you comfortable, it doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter what we say. And it was not so long ago, where I went on somebody's chat and I actually had to apologize because, you know, somebody was trying to send what they believed to be a spirit into the light. But that belief has come from somewhere. You know, so is these balls of energy, are they the light? You know? It's very hard for me to answer that question. But if a person believes that this is an angel that looking after them, and it gives them comfort and it gives them inner peace, do you know what harm is in it? You know, I would rather leave it at that. I would rather leave it at that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know.
Dorothy says she's really enjoying the stream. She's sitting with cheese and crackers and pickled onions.
Can I just pause you all for a news update?
Yeah, go on.
There has just been out West Yorkshire way numerous reports in the last 10 minutes of 15 flying white spheres going across the sky, following each other with no flashing lights and no sound.
How interesting is that?
15 in a line.
Right, can I just step in on that? That has been going on for a while. Now, 2 days ago, me and my daughter was outside and we watched for about an hour and a half a continual flow of orbs in the sky, one after the other, two at a time, boom, just constantly. That, what you've just said, sounds exactly the same as what we've been seeing. This is going on. This is going on around this, well, as far as I know, around this country. So something's going on. Something that's
very strange.
Yeah.
Some spread says, if you believe, how can you find the truth? If you believe some spread, you've already found the truth, is my answer to that one. I always say with the paranormal that, you know, a lot of the paranormal does have to be down to personal belief, but there are limits to personal belief. You know, you can't justify every single thing with personal belief. If there's info to the opposite, you can't then just say, well, it's my personal belief, so it's true. You know, personal beliefs have still got to act within a framework of proven and unproven. That's just my opinion. Right, leading on from what Sam said about angels and dead relatives and things, I'm going to ask you all this now one at a time. Do you believe that there are, or you have ever encountered, a negative form of an orb? And I will start with Brendan.
I haven't actually felt any negativity with orbs, but I've had a few encounters with shadow entities, dark energies, and very powerful, emotionally very powerful. So, yeah, I've not had any experiences with orbs that have felt negative, but I've seen shadows, things walking past my door and stuff. So there are, for me, there's negative whatever out there.
Okay, Sam?
Not orbs as such. A black mass I've seen during a very bad spiritual attack on front of a lot of witnesses.
You mean a black mass as in a shape, not as in a satanic rite? Let's get this, you know, before somebody gets the wrong end of the stick.
No, I kind of.
You mean a black mass as in a shape?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Like a black cloud, but not an orb as such or a light anomaly. No.
Okay, Andy.
The one I was telling you about earlier on that flew towards camera and the camera switched off. At the time, I believed that were on negative scale, but that were pre-education on the fairy realm stuff. I've changed my opinion on that now. I think it was just genuinely flying by. But back then,
Yeah.
so with a bit of knowledge gained, then no, I don't think I've encountered a truly negative orb-wise.
Okay, so leading on from that, all three of you, do you believe that demons, or what a lot of people like to describe as demonic forces, ever manifest in orb form? Andy?
No.
No, me either.
So that again, I was a bit.
Do
What
you
was that?
do you believe that what people like to class as demons
Right.
ever manifest in an orb form?
No, no. Well, not in religious sense. No, definitely not.
Okay, Andy? Sam? I was looking at Sam and listening to you.
I don't know actually. I I don't know what. Possibly, but I just don't know.
Hmm. Brendan?
Yeah, I'll go with Sam on that.
With the don't know. Okay.
Possibly, but I've not encountered it.
Hmm. Right, okay. There was a question I was going to ask then. Oh, yeah. Do you think, and I'll start this with Brendan, that the reason you're seeing a lot of these orbs is because they have a purpose for you? Do you believe they're appearing to you for a reason? Or do you believe they're just appearing because they find you easy to appear to?
Yeah, I think it would be very egotistical to think that one was more important than anyone else. Why? No, I think it's just a case of if you're open to it, if you're um, mentally open to stuff and your heart's open to stuff, then they know that.
Hmm. Sam?
I think, because of the experiences of asking to show yourself as a light anomaly if you're there and they appear, I've been thinking, what is the reason for that? Do they know what I'm thinking? Do they know that, I'm a bit skeptic of all this.
Hmm.
Why, why appear as a light anomaly to me while I asked?
Yeah.
Why did they do that? Did they do that to say, listen, I will put your mind at rest, I will put peace in your heart, and I will show you, but that's all I'm showing you.
Hmm.
Because we, even through spirit boxes, we ask a lot of questions, we do not get answers. We may get pussyfooting around the actual question that we ask, but we don't get the answers that we want to know about all of this,
Yeah.
So maybe that is their only way that they can, give us some peace of mind. We are here.
Okay, Andy?
I agree with what Brendan said. I think a lot on it's that mutual respect thing, and I always promote that. As you know, I always state that a lot of these things can read our frequencies. So more so, I'll speak about asking for stuff to show, but more so they can read us, and if they so wish to connect, because I always call things, partnership in balance.
Yeah.
Some you can partner up with better than others, and it can manifest. It can happen between them, and I think that's the ones where you get to see them with your own eyes, and you'll catch them on camera at the same time. It's that mutual respect that's going on in your frequencies. But yeah, I don't think anybody's got particularly any sort of magical power over anybody else to be able to do it. I just think it's just tuning your vibrational level out properly. I think we've all got capacity to do it.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask something leading on from some of Brendan just said, and then I'm going to ask everybody your missus's question. Right. So, Brendan, you mentioned that you've seen shadow figures in your house. Do you believe that orbs are more prone to appear with certain other types of entities? Do you think there's some connection between, say, shadow people and orbs or something, or other entities? And I'll start
What I,
with, go on. I'll start with Andy on that one.
sorry,
I'll leave you till last, Brendan, being that you actually mentioned it. Andy.
I don't think there's a pure connection. I
Mhm.
think there's potential connections.
Right.
Like in our side of things, a lot of these entities sort of, collaborate between each other. So sometimes you'll get one coming with another, and other times you won't. It's just like humans in a way. You might get one person if you go into shops, and some days you might get 4 or 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
All different people, and that's kind of what it's like. That's how I base it for me.
Okay. Sam.
You'll have to. I got the gist of the question, but do you know when you're concentrating on somebody's answer,
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
lost. I'm sorry, that's the
No, it's
way my
fine. It's
mind.
fine.
I'm sorry.
Do you think that orbs can associate with other entities, or are more liable to appear around other entities, or when other entities are present? Do you think there's connections between, say, orbs and shadow figures, as Brendan mentioned? Seeing.
I don't know. I think they're just. I think they're just separate. You know.
Hmm.
But then again, it's a belief and an opinion. It's just there's no proof around it. Like, but I believe that is the entity.
Yeah.
You know, we class an entity as a lot of people class an entity as a full shadow figure or the shape of a person,
Hmm.
but maybe the orb is the entity.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah. Brendan, do you believe there's a connection between them?
I think they both exist. Um, Whether they're in the same dimension of each other, they both exist. My encounters, what I noticed was an absence of orbs when it was, excuse me, when it was a lot of negativity. When we had these black things appearing and that, there was definitely an absence of orbs. In my opinion, from what I was filming, I wasn't getting a lot of captures. And when I did a cleansing, it all changed. The atmosphere, the energy was lifted. So I have to say that they certainly affected the orb energies that came here. The negative energies affected the positive energy for sure.
Right. Okay. Um, right. I'm going to ask all of you this now. What is your best orb encounter you have actually had, in your opinion, and why? And I'll start with Sam.
my favorite one, the
Hmm.
one was in Dunry Fort, that particular building that I really loved. For some reason, I really loved it. It was called the Officers' Mess.
Hmm.
It was burnt to the ground a night after we done the last investigation there. But when I just asked out of a lot of people asked this, and I wasn't expecting an answer.
Hmm.
If you really exist. I was at some stage, I think around that investigation, I was kind of begging,
Right.
please show yourself. Please do something to show that you're here. And I pleaded out, if you are in this room right now, please show yourself as light.
Hmm.
Normally, if you're here, something to that effect. And you get this light anomaly just going straight up the room and going into the wall in the corner, and it flickering as it travelled, and it travelled at speed. It was just, I was saying, that can't be an insect. It can't.
Yeah.
You know, and it seemed to have this kind of an energy that would flicker. It would go on and off as it flickered up the room, and then disappear into the wall. Do you know? I'm lost for words with that. You know.
Yeah. So did that have an impact on you, Sam? Did that like reinforce your belief in orbs and make you look more into them?
It made me. It sealed the deal. Put it that way. I have experienced orbs and light anomalies. I'd rather call them light anomalies. But I did see others travel with purpose and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that one to me just really, it sealed the deal for me.
It was a defining moment.
Yeah. Do I understand them? No, I don't.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Andy?
You know?
I think probably the best one is that one I was talking about earlier, where we were asking one to dance for us, and it did that twirl.
Right.
And literally, a little bit later on in the session, we were doing a spirit box, and he asked Claudia, box said, get up. So I says, one, follow instructions, see what happens. And she got up, and then the spirit box went 12, and she did one, and Orb kind of come back and like flew around her as well, like as she were doing it. So it was like a big correlation thing we've got going on. But yeah, actual seeing it like sort of manifest in the middle of the room and then sort of like twirl upwards, it was really cool. Not my best.
Right, Brendan, you're going to have tons and tons, so what would you say would be your all-time favourite?
Actually, it's quite easy. Although I've had so many encounters, the best one for me was when I was with my wife and my two kids. And I say kids are a bit grown up now. We was staying at a private mansion, and we was all in the swimming pool. So it was me, Rachel and Lauren was in the swimming pool. My wife was sitting on the side on the sunbed lounger thing. And just messing around as you in the water and that. And all of a sudden I just stopped. Rachel stopped. And we've looked to the right hand side and there was this huge, and I'm saying it's probably about that round, ball of light, orange. It was just so bright. It came in through the window. It passed between my wife and us in the water, and it sort of moved around and then shot upstairs. Now, my wife was just as my daughters were speechless, blown away. We was just looking at one another, like trying to get our heads around what we'd just seen.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was the most powerful, and it is a confirmation for me.
Yeah. Right. I've pretty much exhausted my questions on orbs. There's none I can see in the chat that need covering at the moment. Is there anything, Brendan, you think that that you'd like to discuss regarding orbs, and then we can just chip in with our comments and people in the channel that we haven't covered? Is there any points that you want to get across regarding orbs?
I think for me, the most important thing about this is we are dealing with energies of what we all come with different subjective experiences with paranormal, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's just having that respect. I've forgotten the question.
It was basically any points you wanted to,
Alright.
that we ain't covered that you want to get across regarding orbs. Anything that you think needs to be covered that we haven't.
What I will say is, for people who are trying to capture orbs, you've really got, it can't be an ego thing.
Mm-hmm.
It can't, you've got to be, it's got to be between you and that orb, the energy. I've just saw, sorry, a huge flash then. It's got to be between you and the energy. And that will know your intent. So, if a lot of people ask me, I can't capture orbs, I can't get orbs, stop chasing them.
Mm-hmm.
When you've opened up, they will present themselves. They
Yeah.
really will.
Okay, so leading on from that, then, I'll say this: if you were to give one piece of advice to people in the chat who were interested in orbs and wanted to start really researching them seriously, what would be the best bit of advice you could give them regarding doing this? And I'll start with Sam.
Right. The advice that I always give
Mm-hmm.
is if you want to discover and know the difference between orbs and other things, study other things first.
Okay.
Go out into your garden with your camera and try and follow a fly with that camera and study the flight patterns and all of that. And then if you have a night vision camera, turn it on with your IR light and stuff like that, and just look and study the way the air moves, dust particles in the air. Same with rain and moisture particles. Study all that. Then you'll start to know the difference between a light anomaly and these other things, which is, it's a big problem here on YouTube.
That is actually very good advice, Sam.
Yep, sound advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I think Sam pretty much summed it all up then. Absolutely. Get to understand how things work around you. Understand what your habitat is. Once you understand that, as Sam says, I've done insect filming on purpose, just to show what an insect looks like when you're filming it with lights and so on. So, yeah, absolutely what Sam said, spot on.
Okay, Andy, from the Fire and Elemental point of view, what advice would you give people?
Well, I've got to promote what Sam said there, so you've got to learn that first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Once you've learnt that, then it's a bit like what Brendan said as well. Go to it, with that mutual respect, that non-ego, because we promote non-ego as well. And just practice and put out and try and attune your frequencies. I know that might sound weird and hard, but there's ways you can do it, meditation, sniffing some burning herbs. I'm not talking about drugs, I'm on about, natural herbs, stuff like that. There's all sorts of little tricks to trade, and just learn about it all, read up about it. Like Sam says, do your research on what your natural occurrences that could be, because it is a big issue. It is a really big issue.
Yeah.
And the more you learn, the more, and there's plenty on us out there that, you can look at and go to for advice as well, private advice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's, in a nutshell.
The only bit I can add to that, because it was 3 lots of really good advice, is, as with anything else, I always say to people, always eliminate your normal excuses before you jump to the paranormal. Do not immediately assume everything you see is paranormal. It's called paranormal for a reason, so make sure you eliminate every single rational and normal explanation for what you have witnessed before you even start considering paranormal reasons for what you've captured. And that's about all I can add to that, because that was 3 damn good bits of advice there. Right, is there anybody else on the panel want to say anything before we switch on to a general paranormal discussion?
All good.
Sam?
Yeah, I think I'm okay there.
You're
Yeah.
actually speechless for once, Sam. Brendan?
I'm going to Eddie's room. That's where I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. Right, if anybody in chat wants to put any questions in, be it orbs, fae, or anything general paranormal, now is the time to start doing it. So, you know, you can ask anything. You can ask Brendan questions, you can ask Andy questions, Sam questions, or me questions. Victor says, do all paranormal afterlife think all orbs are dust? Right, Andy, what would you think your percentage are orbs, and what do you think are dust?
What, impersonal?
Oh, I forgot Becky's question. Oh, what
Yeah.
was Becky's question? Let me scroll back up. I did mean to ask it before. I'll ask that one. Hang on, let me find it. Oh, Becky, retype it again, will ya? Because it was a good question. You could have reminded me, Andy.
I forgot myself.
You're sitting
It's
right
because
by...
she's upstairs.
Oh, is her
No,
upstairs?
she's
I was going to say, you're
upstairs.
sitting
Yeah,
right
yeah.
by her. Can you repeat the question, please, Becky? And then when Brendan gets back, I'll ask us all.
Me and Becky practice extreme social distancing. I boosted her upstairs. Oh dear.
You
know what I know?
You have a good day at work, Jackie. It's alright, we just got to wait for Becky now to retype a question. It'll be funny if she's forgot it as well. Because that'll really make me laugh. I think it's been a really good discussion tonight, Andy. I think it's been nice to hear, you know, opinions from all the different people. Coming from all different things. It's been nice having Brendan on, and, you know, because he does specialise in them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to looking back and do we see anything in Brendan's camera, because very often we do, and I don't know. It must, you know, the question is, you know, are these energies attracted to him in particular, and why? You know.
Yeah. As Becky, do you think people who have had an... Oh, yeah, I did want to answer this one, Andy, because this is quite interesting.
Okay.
Right, I'll start this off with Sam, so it gives Brendan a chance to come back. Have you, in your experience, Sam, heard of anybody who's had an NDE and has then been more prone to seeing orbs?
Not in my experience, no.
So, do you believe that somebody possibly having one foot in each realm could, in effect, you know, make them more sensitive to seeing things like orbs?
Possibility, you know, if, you know, we go down a spiritual route, you know, there's a possibility there, you know.
Okay, I'm going to ask Andy now, because Andy's had an NDE. Andy, what do you think on that one?
I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, and I don't think it sort of gives you any more privilege. I think it's weird. I can explain this. It's a really difficult question. Cheers, Bex.
Yeah, I know. You need to get a stick and prod the ceiling.
I will. I think we've all got capacity to be able to do it. I really do, because I think it's attunement, you know, based. It's your frequency. But that's not saying that some people who would never think on these sort of lines that we all do might have more natural experience because of one. You know, they might not have ever looked into paranormal or anything. They might have had an ND, and then all of a sudden they might start seeing stuff and be like, "Oh, what that?" You know. there's got to be cases of that happening.
Yeah. Right. Now
So
I'll
yeah,
answer after you, Andy, when you finish, because
no, I'm finished. It's a tough discussion. It could go on for hours. This.
yeah. Right. For me, majority of you on the channel probably know I actually had an NDE when I was 14. I actually died twice. For me, I would say no, it didn't increase my ability to see orbs because I'd never actually seen any before, and I never actually really saw with my own eyes the orb until I saw that one 3 months ago in my hallway. So for me, I would say no, having an NDE has not in any way increased the frequency at which I see orbs, because I only saw, obviously I've seen them on videos and stuff, but personally I've only ever seen one with my naked eye once, and that was 3 months ago. I have seen other light anomalies in the house recently, in the old house, which changed colour and stuff, but this has only been a recent thing, and my NDE was over 30 years ago. So for me, I would say no. What's your opinion on that, Brendan? Do you think people who have claimed to have had an NDE are in any way more susceptible to seeing things like orbs?
Well, that's a really good question because I've had a near-death experience, like yourself, with my car crash.
Hmm.
It took them about an hour and 20 minutes to cut me out of the car,
Hmm.
and I was obviously in a bad way. The engine sitting on my lap, my leg was behind me and twisted all the way around. I had the steering column go through my left leg.
Hmm.
Um, the steering wheel was in my face. So I was in a really bad way, and I got to a point where the pain was so bad, I just wanted out of it.
Yeah.
I had enough, and all of a sudden, I was in a nowhere place. It was I couldn't see anything, but
Hmm.
I could hear myself. It was like I was there with myself. It was really bizarre, and I had in, and it couldn't have been. I don't think it was that long. I was out of my body, but in that time that I was out, I understood the situation that I was in. I knew because where I was at that moment in time, I wasn't in pain. I
Hmm.
was free, and it was like, do I want to go back? Do I really want to go back to the pain? And after thinking very quickly, family, friends, loved ones, work, out just buying a new place, and I'm thinking, yeah, of course I want to live. I want to live.
Hmm.
And next thing I knew, I was back in the car and back in pain, and damn, that was painful.
Do
But
you think you've seen more orbs since that, Brendan, or
because it happened I was only young. I was
right?
24 when it happened.
Okay.
So, but I've always have experienced paranormal since a child anyway.
Hmm.
So it would be hard to say. I would say it's definitely opened my mind up to that there's something else beyond this body for
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely.
Hmm. See, for me, I would say, you know, I was already interested in the paranormal before I had my NDE anyway, but certain things have occurred for me since there have been different, because my intuition really did ramp up after that, and I always say I'm not psychic. I don't claim in any way, shape, or form to be psychic, but intuition wise did increase. And the other thing that my NDE did for me is I have absolutely no fear of dying whatsoever now. I don't want to die horribly or painfully, but I've got no actual fear of the dying process, of dying itself. That was the main thing I got from mine.
That's a good point as well. That did it for me. That
Hmm.
it took away the fear.
Yeah, yeah. If somebody said to me, you were going to die tomorrow, I wouldn't want to go, but I wouldn't be frightened to go. Well, I would, because I've got to face that red-headed woman again, or I hope I ain't, but I might have to. Right. Some spreaders asked a question that is interesting. Is there an area where you think they are more likely to appear? And does magnetic fields got anything to do with orbs? That's quite an interesting question, actually. Sam?
Can you piece the question through again? I heard a bit about the magnetic field and orbs.
Do you believe that the orbs are more liable to appear in certain areas? And do you think magnetic fields has got anything to do with orbs?
That's a good question, which I don't have an answer to. But
at least it's brutal honesty, Sam. I always say brutal honesty is the best.
When we measure EMF, which is electromagnetic fields,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if these orbs are energy, then we should get an electromagnetic field off that.
Right.
If it comes across with another electromagnetic field, that possibly should affect it in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what that effect is, I don't know.
Right. Brendan?
Okay, I've captured on video an EMF. People have opinions about EMF meters, the K2s and all of that. But what it is an equipment that registers if there's been a break in the magnetic field. That's what it does. So when I captured an orb coming down to my meter and the meter spike and then the orb shoot off, to me that suggests that it's an energy. It has an electromagnetic field around it, as we all do. We're all electric.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that geology has a lot to do with it. Water.
Well, that's interesting, because Andy will pick up on that one now you've said water.
Yeah, absolutely. I think water's a big part of paranormal activity. I think that's a yes to that.
Yeah, you've just rung the bell for Andy. Andy, go on. I saw your face light up.
What? So I just want to touch on areas first, because there is well documented.
I'm just going to run to the loo while you're talking, because I am peeing myself back in a second.
There's well documented orb activity around what we know as ley lines, which are apparently highly magnetic lines that run across most of the world. There is in-depth ley line maps that you can get, and they do across all world. A lot of old, ancient monolithic sites are placed on these places. You know, we know them as, me personally, in what we research as fairy roads. That it's not something we've made up; it's something that's actually, a thing. You'll find all old druids used to use these crossing lines, if you will, as power sources and stuff, and you would get orb phenomena really ramped up in these spots. So yeah, you've got that to consider, which comes as part of geology as well. And then also there's as Brendan brought up about the water, we working in witchcraft work with the four elements a lot. One of them obviously is water, and we believe that a lot of places that we've investigated, such as the old mills and stuff that are situated on water, have always had an higher sort of giving of activity on, such as orbs and manifestations of lights and oddities and stuff like that. So yeah, I do believe that the natural magnetism, and its elements can play a part to open that spectrum up.
Okay, there you go. There's your answer to that one. Jane says she senses things that have happened where she's not been and relay them to her sister, and she has been able to relate to what I have said is true. My sixth sense is quite strong too. That's Jane talking about how she's found things have developed since she had an MBE. That's quite interesting,
Ah,
actually. Right,
Uh,
here's a general one off Saint. What are your views on superstition? My grandmother would say if a bird flew in the house, it meant death. She used to freak me out with old wives' tales. Right, I'll kick this one off then. I'm not superstitious in any way, shape, or form. I've got no problem with walking under ladders as long as there's no buggers standing on them with paint or anything like that. I don't believe the number 13's unlucky. What is interesting about the one that you've mentioned, Saint, is that birds are actually considered psychopomps. They are basically messengers of the soul. They are believed to carry to help the soul transverse to various heavens in different religions. They also supposedly bring spiritual messages. So that's probably where that superstition about the bird coming into the house sprang from, because they are psychopomps and considered, guardians of the soul, and that lead them on to the afterlife. Sam, once you finish falling off your chair, are you superstitious?
amazing.
yeah, my share is a mind of its own. Yeah, there is a lot of these superstitions and stuff like that, and especially around the robin redbreast. I can't remember what that is. Is it that someone's going to die, or that when a robin redbreast comes in, it's something to do with a past family member or whatever? Like, I find it, I don't want to be closed-minded on it.
Mhm.
But, on the other side of this, why would a wild bird trust a human being? Because there was a time I was going through a hard time,
Mhm.
and I actually was in homeless accommodation for a little while, a number of years ago, through a bad experience. But every single day when I went from my sheltered accommodation over to the office, I was followed by a little robin
Mhm.
bouncing along the ground, And then I have a friend who, on a number of occasions, was able to put out his hand and this little bird would land on it. And I'm wondering what gives that bird that trust in us,
Mhm. It's actually quite interesting you're mentioning robins, because when me and Jace did the investigation with Becky and Andy at what we call the Fey Garden, we had a robin who was very interested in what we were doing. But the other thing that was really interesting is we actually had something come through the spirit box referring to orbs, and you actually saw the orb in the garden, didn't you, Andy?
I caught it on camera as
Yeah,
well, yeah,
yeah,
in broad daylight.
yeah. That was really
Yeah,
interesting. That was
yeah.
really interesting. Are you superstitious, Andy?
Um, Not in most parts, but I do find them intriguing, old ones. It's like this one about the burning house.
Mhm.
Apparently there's a little bit more to it. And it states, if the bird dies or is a white colour,
Mhm.
then that foretells death. But if just a general bird comes in, it's an important message. So that's the more in-depth part of it.
Yeah, it's
But
it's
it's
it's,
like,
it's the psychopomp element of them
Mhm.
with birds.
But yeah, I mean, I only recently learned about the old superstition of knocking on wood for good luck. Is actually comes from the old witches would
Yeah,
knock on the wood to basically ask the tree spirit, the dryad, for
yeah,
good luck.
yeah.
Which is really cool. and that's still carried on today, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, yeah. Brendan, are you superstitious?
Absolutely not. I think what happens, it's almost it's what I think with superstitions is you manifest it yourself by the knowledge of a superstition. So if someone says, "Oh, if a cat walks in front of you, that's bad luck," then that sets off what's the word?
A mindset.
Yeah, a mindset, but it sets in motion, the process of that's bad news. So immediately you've set the precedent that that's bad.
Yeah.
For me, no, I think it's all about intentions, and to me it's like a spell. That that to me it's old wise tales are spells in a way.
A lot of superstitions and stuff, do date back to a lot of, especially to the pagan belief system. With the things like the knocking on the wood and the bird things and stuff like that. They are all, they're pre-Christian stuff. It is all paganism stuff. But I do find it quite interesting. We've got 4 people here strongly into the paranormal, and not one of us is superstitious. You'd think that would be the opposite. Because a lot of people view us as really gullible about everything, but I tend to be extremely skeptical on things and need a bit of convincing, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, the Irish, especially in old Ireland, were very superstitious. Oh, yeah. Extremely, and you would have not seen a house in the countryside without a horseshoe on the door. For good luck or whatever it's supposed to. I know if you put it one way, it's good luck. The other way, it means something else. But horseshoes were a big thing around the Irish countryside.
Okay, right. Jane says, I always think and believe if you have a robin, it is a loved one coming to see you. When I get a robin, I always say, it's my late cat Mindy coming for a visit. I'd have thought your late cat would have eaten the robin, Jane, to be honest with you. Right, here's an interesting one off Victor. Victor says, part 3. Do all paranormal afterlife people, paranormal and afterlife is part of the paranormal, Victor, so you can just say paranormal, will get you. Believe all orbs are dust. Right, I'll kick this off. If I'm being kind, I would say that personally I think about 5% of orbs are genuine. If I was being realistic and 100% honest, I would say probably 1% of those are actually genuine and the other 4% are borderline. So I'm leaving Brendan till last with this one. So let's go with Andy then.
Yeah, I think we once discussed this percentage, didn't we? And because you asked me for an alphabet, I said 10%, but I said all being kind with 10.
Give a kind figure, give a kind figure and a true
figure.
To the heart figure. Yeah.
All right, and so I'll give a kind figure of 10% could be real, and a true to art about 3.
Okay. Sam.
Very, very close to the same actually. About 10%. To about 3.5%.
You've just got to slip that 0.5% in there, Sam.
Well,
you sure you don't go 3.75%?
Well, I meant 3. I meant 3, not 3.5. 3 to 5%. Right. See, the problem is, right? You got people that they want to do the paranormal, right? And they want to set up a YouTube channel or a Facebook channel or whatever they want to do. And they go out and they make mistakes, and we've all done them. I've actually misidentified dust for light lamps and orbs myself in the beginning. And then you have these other people that know damn rightly that it's not a thing, but they know that there's a lot of gullible people out there, and they're going to make a big thing out of this. And it's some of these people are they use that as a magnet to sucker people in, and there's a lot of people that they're going to believe everything that you say. If you've got a fan base, no matter what you say, they will believe you. A lot of them. But a very, very small percentage is an actual paranormal event.
Go on.
Yeah.
Go on, Brendan. I'm dying to hear this. Go on.
Okay.
Give us a coin figure, and then give us a figure that you think are actually genuine.
Right, because I'm Orbs Realm, and I have a lot of connections with other channels that actually just dedicate to orbs. So I would say I'm subscribed. I've got a lot of not a lot actually, a few close friends that have been with me and doing their own stuff that I would say they're absolutely genuine with what they show. But if I'm talking about YouTube in general, I would say, as I did in the chat because I was typing last time, I would say there's only about 4% of what I see out there as being real captures of orbs, and the rest isn't.
But see, because it's like Andy with stuff concerning the Fey and Elementals. Andy's going to see an higher percentage of genuine proof on that because he only tends to associate with them kind of channels. Same with you, with your orbs, you tend to, only tend to associate with the channels that, an high percentage of who you associate with are going to be orbs-related channels. So people have got to take that into consideration. But me, I'd say five is a good figure, and 1 is in my art type of thing are actually people genuinely producing orb things. And I do agree with Sam that a lot of them are genuine misidentification, but you do have to be aware of the ones out there that are actually doing it multiple times, and they know damn well that what they're producing is not evidence in any way, shape or form. Right, Saint, your views. Have any of you anything related to a charm or anything that gives you protection or comfort that you wouldn't leave the house without? Well, for me, the answer is no. I don't specifically carry out something with me every time I go out, and get paranoid if I don't. I have got certain possessions that I do believe help me in certain things, but I don't necessarily have to carry them around with me all the while. Brendan?
No, I don't.
There you go. That's short and to the point. No, I don't. Sam?
No, I.
You gotta love these two, ain't you, Andy? Nope. Andy?
Pretty much same as you, Brett. I don't go out for protection because I don't feel like I need it. But I do use certain tools for help of stuff. Yeah.
The interesting part of that question is comfort. There was a time where I used to carry around a little round stone in my pocket, and I used to have it in my hand, and I used to, but that wasn't for good luck or anything.
I'll do that all the while. Somebody name with a little stone. Show us what you were doing with the little stone again.
Oh, it's that time of night, is it?
You know, holding it in your hand, just
You can always drop one on Sam that totally throws her like this. It's going to take her about 5 minutes to recover from this now. This is what you have to put up with, Brendan, if you're on here on a regular basis.
It's much easier when you're watching.
Yeah.
Sam,
do,
getting a
do, you know,
grip.
do you know, I might screenshot that at some point and have it as the background on the channel.
oh yeah.
Have you ever had anything like that, Brendan, where you've had like a comfort item more so than a charm, or do you believe in charms or anything like that?
Again, I think people inject their own energy into charms, and you know, I'm not saying charms don't work. I don't know, but I wouldn't dismiss them.
Hmm. So would you say you're quite open-minded when it comes to the paranormal?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, with things like paganism and witchcraft and all, you know, the entire shebang.
Absolutely with paganism. I think it's our heritage. It's where we're from as a as a Englishman.
Yeah.
I'm all for wickery and all of that.
I've got to admit though, some of the things you've been saying for our chat, Brendan, I've been like, you know, my attention has just been grasped.
Yeah, and me, to be honest with you, Andy.
Yeah.
There's a couple of times I thought, that's very Wiccan or that's very pagan, depending on certain things he said. I think Sam's gone to have a breakdown in the other room.
Oh dear.
We all right, love? Did you rush off to the toilet to finish off or something?
I was killing two birds at once alone. I went to the loo and I went to try and gather myself together again.
So we don't carry rocks in our pockets. See, I'm going to let everybody else answer this one before I answer it. What is your opinion on crystals, Sam?
I know that there is something with crystals because I actually can feel the energy in them. And one of the ways of doing that, I've ever close to my you get your crystal, and if you're sensitive, you may feel it. Just put your hand and just keep doing it for a little while. Then suddenly you'll find that there's kind of there's an energy that you'll actually feel a slight little.
Is that amethyst?
I'm not very good with crystals.
Is it purple, Sam?
Yeah.
It's purple.
Yeah, that's amethyst.
Yeah.
You get this kind of you come across a little bit of resistance as you come across the top of it. You know, and actually if you go into one of those crystal shops and you get one of these massive, I don't know what you call them.
Geode.
A geode. And you put your hand in there, it'll start feeling very tingly. Don't let it start.
Moving on, Brendan. What's your belief in crystals?
My belief in crystals is they are like batteries. they're energy holders. With each crystal with different resonance and frequency. So yeah, I am a believer that crystals have a role to play.
Do you think they work with the orb work? Do you know? Do you
Yeah,
think
I think so. Yeah.
Do you think they may be like feeding off the crystals as assisted them to appear and stuff?
Possibly, absolutely, possibly, because it would be a good source of energy. I have crystals all around me. So, there are plenty of crystals.
Andy?
Yes, I believe there's some use of them. I use a certain field myself in what I do, and I would say there's a notable, especially for communication,
Yeah.
there's a notable difference for me personally when using one, let's say, as an antenna, than not using one. But yeah, I think there's definitely something to it.
See, I believe they work, but I don't prescribe to a lot of the modern day, what I call new agey type beliefs surrounding them. You know, I tend to go to the more ancient beliefs regarding the different kind of stones. For example, clear quartz being an amplifier and amethyst being a purifier and stuff like that. But I don't think it's the cure all, and for everything like a lot of people would have you believe. But I do believe, like Brendan says, there are certain crystals, and I don't think all of them are, but I do think there are certain crystals that will store energy or various energies, or are better at it than others. Shall I put it? I think they're all capable of storing energy, but I think there are certain crystals that are actually better at storing it than others.
There actually used to they used to use crystals in radios.
Yep. Well, that's what your quartz is. Quartz is a proven natural amplifier. Yeah.
Watches.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
And he said, I can never remember. Is it piezoelectric? Is that
Quasar.
Piezo, I think it is. It starts with something like that. But basically, if you exert pressure on a piece of clear quartz, it will actually start generating its own electrical field, just simply by having pressure exerted on it. It is actually one of the confirmed, and that's a scientific property of clear quartz. It's one of its its properties. If you subject it to any form of pressure, it will start generating its own electrical field and energy.
Yeah. I find bismuth very fascinating when it's heated up and it's cooled, and it looks like some of those Japanese buildings. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
No. I was doing you and zoning out. I was reading the chat. Sorry. What were you saying?
Hold on till I get the crystal. I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay. James says some people years ago used to carry a stone with an hole in it called a hagstone. 3 bumblebees in a bag for health and prosperity, and people used to wear mole's feet on them to get rid of toothache. There are all sorts of weird and wonderful old remedies and beliefs, James. I wouldn't recommend it with the bumblebees nowadays, though, because they're like endangered. Go on, Sam. What were you going to say with the crystal?
Do you know the crystal bismuth? It's supposed to be a crystal, but it's like a metal as well. And if it's heat, it's at 500 degrees centigrade, it can be melted down. And when it cools, it makes shapes like that.
All right.
It's little formations, and you see the colours there. And it's all straight. It's like it was 3D printed.
There are YouTube channels, Sam, that will show you how to make it.
Yeah. That's
a really pretty crystal, that one.
Yeah. But the colours come out in the heat process,
It's polychrome, isn't it?
But you see the way it's formed in straight lines. It looks like it's been 3D printed, but that's the way it naturally naturally forms when it cools.
That's cool.
And actually it's supposed to be a tiny bit radioactive.
Well, I'll put it down then, Sam, if I was you. Right, here's an interesting one. What is everybody's people's opinions on hexes and curses? Right, go on, Brendan. We'll start with you on this one.
Right. Again, the way I see a hex or a curse is you put it on yourself. The spell casting by the person putting the hex on is just setting in motion something that you take on board and create by them words that they use.
Yeah.
The way to stop hexes is by whatever. It's, you know, your words mean nothing to me, and it's only me who's going to create any bad energies or things that are going to go on. I'm in control of me, nothing else, no one else.
So you believe they're all a matter of belief and self-intent?
Yeah.
Okay, Sam.
Put it this way, if I said to somebody, you're going to have bad luck tomorrow, I'm casting a spell of bad luck to you tomorrow, and the next day they are on the way out in the trip over the dog, they're going to possibly associate that with what I said the day before. You know, I'm not into spells, I'm not into curses. That's just the way I look at things, you know.
Yeah, everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
You know, if they do, if these spells and curses exist, you know, I'm open to believing in it, but me personally, not at this moment in time, I don't know.
Andy?
Personally, I believe it's a mashup of what both Brendan and Sam said.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's an exact mashup of both. There's the intent, you know, and willing something to happen so much, and then there's the person, because obviously it's usually directed at another person. There's them knowing what you've done and then manifesting it and helping it to happen as well.
Yeah.
You know, and any bad luck that they get, they will blame it on what you've done. You know, obviously, I think both things have got a part to play there.
I think, what Andy just said is absolutely right. If you don't hear, if someone, say for example, if I put a bad hex on someone, didn't tell them, but my intention was bad energy towards that person, then yeah, I think that works. If your way of getting a hex to work is by telling a person you're hexing them, then I think that's when it's self-prophesizing.
Yeah. Right. Victor, it's alright, I've just buggered my chat up trying to get to Victor's channel. Victor has asked about it if we would look at his some of the stuff on his channel objectively. Victor, what I will do when this stream is over, tomorrow morning I will link back to your channel via the chat, and I'm quite happy to have a look at the stuff you've got on there. And you know, I'll give you an opinion, but bear in mind it is just my opinion. You know, I never claim to be right or wrong on any subject. I will just state it. Whatever I say on it will actually just be my opinion. But yeah, perfectly happy to do that. I presume Sam and Andy will be as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, but when it comes to X's, I tend to agree with Andy on that one. I believe it's a two-way thing. I believe you can chuck them at people if you've got, if the intent's there. But I also believe they're nothing to be feared if you've got the intent to keep them off you, sort of thing. There are certain spells and rituals that are traditional to do, but again, I think they just help in this self-belief and intent thing more so than, like peeing in the jar and burying it in the garden. I think it's the actual doing it that helps fuel that self-belief and stuff, rather than what you're doing actually being the catalyst for it. but that's just my personal opinion. I'll just scroll down, see if I've missed any. Saint, thanks mate, I've studied Cornish magic for years now, in particular charms, talismans, evil. That's not specifically Cornish, James, that is just witchcraft in general. It ain't specifically related to Cornwall. You'll find that in general witchcraft as well. I'm just scrolling down to see if anybody else has got any questions. Is there anybody else got any questions I'd like to ask of a paranormal nature? Can I just ask that nobody discusses what's going on at the moment in the world, because it's causing havoc with kicking channels off the air and all sorts of stuff. So feel free to ask what you want, just don't mention anything to do with that, the C word, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing actually is you could discuss the current situation and then find that your view count is dropping, and that is called shadow banning, which you are not being put out by YouTube, but there's nothing there to say that you've been shadow banned. You just don't know about it, you know? So just be careful with those words. Anything to do with the current situation, you know.
So, is there anything anybody on the panel wants to discuss or bring up or chat about? Quite happy to talk about anything.
Happy to talk about it. Really.
Dan or shout at once. Right, has anybody got anything? What's everybody's plans during what's going on at the moment? Obviously, we're all in the UK and shouldn't be going out. So, what are you planning to do? Brendan, are you planning to just do more Orbs videos in the house and stuff? Oh, right, you're going to sit there with your mask on.
Yeah, no, I to be fair, with the time I've got now, I've been clearing my garden now. I've been working in the garden, pruning and tidying up, ready for spring and the beautiful blossoms and everything. So, no, it's been nice to be able to get out in the sunshine.
Right. Oh, Saint. Oh, hang on. Saint's asked a question. This one's an interesting one. Right. If any of you moved into a new house, which I have literally done in the last 2 months, would you do any kind of ceremony? Personally, no, unless I was having problems. If, I don't think you should be upsetting the balance of an house if the house seems to be okay. Obviously, if there were certain things going on, I may consider finding out what, but, I wouldn't necessarily move into an house and then suddenly start wandering around with a stick of sage, because as a lot of my regulars know, I don't believe in saging as such working anyway. But I don't, I didn't move into this new house and walk around the house with a big lump of sage going, get out my house sort of thing. Like I said, I felt the house had quite a balanced atmosphere to it, so I've just left it as is for now. Brendan, would you do anything like that if you moved?
If I moved into a house, hopefully I would have viewed the house before I moved into it, so I would have done a complete walk through the house to feel what the house energy gives to me. I can't say I would purposely buy a place if I felt lots of energy there. I would definitely do it for that, buy a house for that reason, but I would not change. I would not specifically go into a house and, as you say, smudge or whatever the place. No, I'd open my arms to it and bring it on, whatever it is.
Andy?
I would personally do how can I put this? Like a meet and greet ceremony, because obviously, I believe highly in house brownies. So mine would be sort of, because 9 times out of 10 it would have one. Yeah. And I would just,
That's why I said I wouldn't want to interfere with the balance of the
house. Yeah. And I'd be just like, I want to get to know you. We want to do the right thing. It's respect, and offer something to the energy of the house. And that'd be, my sort of thing that I'd do.
Sam?
And more than likely
Oh, go on,
garden
sorry.
as well.
And the
Yeah,
garden.
more than likely garden.
Yeah.
Not now, but in the past, Ireland was a very, very Catholic country, and it was a very traditional thing to do is to call in the priest to give him a cup of tea and ask him to bless the house. And actually, they used to have after certain, I think every first Sunday of the month at after 11 o'clock mass. The Franciscans used to do a ceremony of blessing of the cars. So, I personally, I don't do, don't do any ceremonies around my house or anything like that. I just bring in weird stuff, like weird dolls and stuff.
Yeah. Go on, carry on, Sam.
If I felt that there was something negative in my house, I actually would pray. I have to be honest with you. Yeah, I would.
But that's your personal belief, Sam, innit?
Yeah.
You can't knock anybody for having a personal belief. If you're religious, you're wrong, but you're religious.
The thing about the sage, right?
Yeah.
So some people would say, light sage and everything's going to go away. If you look at it logically, if you light the sage and you sage the four corners of your house and you open the window to let that smoke out, and you believe that bad energy is caught up in that smoke and that smoke is taken away from your house, that gives you peace of mind.
Yeah. But again, it's like we've been saying all night, and it is more intent than actually. I don't believe sage has got any particular magical properties. It's like Andy always says, it was just a very common herb at the time to grab and set fire to. So so that's why it was used. I always, what my comment on in this, Sam. If you genuinely believe that fart spray can get rid of evil spirits in your house, it will work. Because it all comes down to the belief and intent.
You're going to have that fart spray in your merch store.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do a merch store.
Paranormal fart spray.
Brett's anti-demon fart spray. sell loads of it.
Well, it's a change from t-shirts and mugs. It's different. It might catch on.
I'll try, Chris, but I don't know whether it'll allow me to give you any, because certain people it just refuses point blank to do it, and it tends to be people with like double names a lot of the time. It don't like. There you go. I've tried. I'll have to see if it does it or not. It'll say in a minute whether it's found you or not. With Sam talking about bringing stuff into her house, then Brendan, have you ever brought anything into your house that has increased orb activity? Have you noticed?
That's a good question. I'm not a collector of old things or paraphernalia or anything like that, so I'd have to say no.
Never move in with Sam then. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I've seen the doll collection.
Sam's house is like a paranormal museum.
All them spirit boxes she has.
So have you ever actually had anything that's increased it, or does it tend to stay on a fairly even level, or do you find different times of the year or different times of the day you tend to have more activity? Is there any sort of pattern you've discovered to it yet?
what I found is during or coming up to a full moon, I get less activity with orbs. Absolutely.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, that would tie in with witchcraft beliefs, because as you approach the full moon and you reach the full moon, then the moon goes into what is called its waning phase, and that is when you do things that are considered of a destructive nature. And when I say destructive, I don't necessarily mean negative; it just means breaking down of. So I could understand them, building up towards the full moon and then dying off. Could you with that, Andy?
In some respects, yeah, and also that they have get-togethers and things go quiet. We never investigate around the full moon anymore because we tend not to get much.
No.
They have their own things that they do,
I noticed it after about 2 years of doing it, and the penny dropped, that I was really getting a noticeable lack of orbs around a full moon. Absolutely noticeable. And I've mentioned
do you find, Brendan, on the opposite end of the scale, you get more stuff happening on a new moon?
Absolutely. Yes, definitely.
See, that's quite interesting here, Andy, because it shows us a cycle there.
Yep.
That's really interesting, actually, Brendan.
Yeah, like I said, I've even said it on videos that I've done through as time's gone on. I've mentioned it that I've not really been catching orbs lately, and checking on the date, it's when they're like full moon, and and
see, because the moon affects. Well, we know it does the oceans and all sorts of things. The moon affects, and we also know it affects the Earth's, magnetic fields and stuff as well. So again, it all ties back to this energy and energy fields, doesn't it? I'm a pest, lol. Yeah, sorry, Chris, I couldn't give you any. Right, the Saint says, have you guys ever brought anything historical that is paranormal connected? No, I never have done. I'm a bit like what Brendan just said in that thing. I don't believe in collecting supposedly haunted objects or stuff like that. Brendan, have you ever brought anything that you've known has had a paranormal connection?
No.
No. Go on, Sam. Rattle them off.
When you said historical, that is paranormal connected. Not as such. I have actually a lot of replicas. I have Robert the Doll. I have Annabelle the Doll. I actually have James Dean's little bastard.
God, I thought you were going to get that bloody doll off the shelf again then.
Yeah.
Little bastard.
Yeah. And a couple of items like that. But not historically famous as such. Just a load.
Have you ever bought anything that you have been told is haunted or is connected to something? Not necessarily historical. Have you bought something specifically because you've been told it was haunted?
Yes.
How many hundreds of things have you got in your house that you've done that with?
Not very many actually.
Really?
Not very many, because you go onto YouTube, or onto eBay. It's very easy to buy a nice one and make a very elaborate story and stuff. There was once or twice where I would give this a go, because there may be something to it. Turns out when I done Spirit Box and Spirit Box sessions around the particular items, the relevant names came through that was supposed to be in the story. So, very, very strange in that line,
Yeah.
The famous bridal doll of the UK, I have a similar one to that, which is, was advertised, P.S. This item is not haunted. And we had difficulties with this item straight away, most notably headaches, from a number of people that was around the stall. So I emailed the person and I asked them why did they want to sell it all. They says, well, we just don't want it, and we're not accepting money back. Don't think about sending back the doll or whatever. I says, why did you specifically say that it's not haunted? Because it isn't. I don't want to talk about it anymore. And then they just cut out all communications with me. So I actually bought that doll as a replica of the UK haunted doll, and the other doll belonged to another researcher in the United States. And it wasn't meant to be, but there possibly is something to it. But the thing is, I have so much stuff now in my house that I don't know what is causing activity and what isn't. So I have to segregate everything before I could do anything with it. But how do you see YouTube, we're going to do Spurs box session, guys, with this doll here. That's not an investigation. You need to have that camera on for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's somewhere I agree. Excuse me. While I get COVID-19. I think for you to truly investigate any place, you can't do it in a matter of hours. It would be weeks and months for me to do it fully and properly.
Yeah, well, that's why we go back to the same locations over and over. It's not that we are lazy or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're documenting all the time.
Andy, have you ever bought anything because you've been told it was haunted?
I haven't, no.
I don't think you've ever done.
No, not at all. Closest thing was intrigue over that Crying Boy painting.
Yeah.
And you were just like, oh, that's cool, there's one there, I'll just take it just because of history. But that's all, that was the closest thing I ever got to doing it.
Alright. With what Sam was saying there, Brendan, with all the varying energies has got swirling round in their house, do you think that would have a positive or a negative effect for her to, if she wanted to seriously get into studying orbs and things like that? Do you think all those items in the house would in any way affect it?
Possibly, yeah. I think it probably would. If there is real connection with the objects, and you're getting spirit box answers connected to what you've got and that, then yeah, I guess that there would be that's a lot of energy, a lot of stuff going on in a house. So yeah, I think it would.
There you go, Sam. You got to get rid of all your stuff if you want to start seeing more orbs. Time for that Robert doll to go in the incinerator, I think.
You don't like that doll, do you?
No, that doll just freaks me out. I get really bad vibes off that doll. Really bad vibes.
And then we wonder why the kids of the past used to have nightmares.
Yeah. Chris says energy seem to be flat at the moment. What is everybody's opinion on that? Andy? Andy, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Sam?
Yes.
I can hear
you. Andy says back in 5, just sorting meds.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realise he was froze. I thought he was standing there with his hand listening. So what do you think about that?
Sorry, Brett, I'm going to have to go soon because...
no problem, Brendan.
I think my missus wants to come to bed, so...
Yes, no problem. It's nearly 11:30 anyway. But,
yeah.
Right, before you head off then, what do you think... Quick one then before you go. What do you think about that statement that Chris has just said. Do you think that energies have seemed a bit flat lately? Have you noticed that orb activity's decreased?
Um, do you know, in the last few weeks, I haven't been doing a lot of filming
Mhm.
or videoing for Orbs, but they've been there. They've come. So it's been normal.
Yeah. There you go, Sam.
I've actually increased my spurt box sessions that I normally do, so it's very difficult because, I've had a couple of cracking either very good responses or extremely good timing. I had two very good spurt box sessions sort of in the car. I had a good spurt box session today in the house as well, so, I asked relevant questions. I asked, are they aware of the current situation that we face? And I left it for about 20 seconds, and the next thing I get this whisper, yes. And that was out of the normal behaviour of the spurt box session.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that stood out. Was this female saying, yes. The rest of it a lot of it was snippets and stuff like that. But even to get that one,
Oh God, what's Andy doing?
look at the size of that no, mate.
Andy, Brendan's got to get off in a minute because his poor wife wants to get to bed. So I'm just going to say goodbye to Brendan. I'd like to thank him for coming on. You're always welcome on again, Brendan, whenever you want to. Just let me
I've
know.
really,
More than welcome to come on and talk about orbs or whatever you want to.
yeah, because it's not just Orbs. You know,
Yeah,
I've had in this house we've had so much activity. So there's
yeah,
loads of paranormal stuff to
yeah.
talk
Well,
about.
if ever we're covering a subject and you're in chat, just give me a shout, and I can just pull you straight in. It ain't a problem, whatever you want to talk about. Could I ask
Well,
anybody who hasn't been to Brendan's channel, which is Orbs Realm, if you've enjoyed what he's talked about tonight, could you go and give him a sub? Because, I think he deserves it and he is very knowledgeable on the subject. So please go and have a look at his channel. And again, thank you very much, Brendan. I'll let you get off because obviously your wife wants the bed.
thank you for inviting us on.
It's been nice having you on, Brendan, and I'll give you a text tomorrow and have a chat.
Okay,
Okay,
Great to
and
talk to you.
it's brilliant.
Andy.
And he's left his gnome there, I
Oh,
think, while he's getting his stuff sorted out.
so yeah, hopefully I'll catch up with you all very soon.
Yep,
It's been
definitely,
really,
Brendan. You're always welcome on.
thank you very much, and
Yeah,
everyone,
Okay.
thank you.
Good night, Brendan.
good
Good
night,
night.
Brendan.
Good
Good
night.
night.
All right.
That's it. He's gone. He's gone out, I think.
And then there were three.
Yeah. Well, there's two of us and a garden gnome at the moment, Sam.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that discussion with Brendan tonight. This is why I like having discussions with Andy on the Fae and elementals and stuff because it's always nice to have a discussion with somebody who actually knows what I'm talking about and then prepared to do it in a very down to earth way. That with Brendan
Brent?
then was it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant
Yeah.
discussion.
When you said down to earth, you couldn't get a more down to earth person than Brendan.
Mhm, mhm.
He doesn't get excited or jump to conclusions or anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. And
You know.
and it's the same when we do anything concerning the Fae or elementals and stuff. Exactly the same.
Uh,
There was a question on there I wanted to ask. Um, James was recommending a book. Um, Magical House Protection, the archaeology of counter witchcraft. That might be interesting to look up, James. I'll Google that later. Somebody asked about um, haunted houses. I've got to find it now. I don't know who asked the comment. Uh, bu- 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 bu. Let me find it, Sam. Maverick says, any of you had a spiritual attach itself to you after leaving a paranormal investigation? The answer to that one with me is no. I personally have never had a spirit attachment when I've done anything like that. Sam?
I don't feel I have. I don't feel I have, to be honest with you. You know, I
Mhm.
know I've done a spurt box session at 3 o'clock in the morning after coming back from an investigation and getting three members of a family come through on the spurt box that I just been to their house.
Mhm.
You know, that is about 10 miles away or less. You know, so did something follow me home? I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Oh,
Um,
but
Hang on, can I just let Brendan had to head off because his wife wanted to go to bed. Andy.
Oh, right, okay. Okay,
Um,
no problem.
but I said I'll message him tomorrow, and I said thank you to him and everything.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
he seems to have really enjoyed it tonight, and I've said, if everybody wants to come on any of our other discussion, because he says, it ain't just orbs he'll discuss anything paranormal.
Brilliant.
So I've sorry about that, Sam. Do you want to carry on now? Sorry.
yeah, I felt like I did have an attachment to one particular house,
Mhm.
and when I came from the house, the friend that came with me says that they would investigate the house with me, and when they got there, they actually changed their mind and they says, I'm not going into that house. You know, this was renowned for having a very negative paranormal activity in it. I actually came down from the house, and my friend explained afterwards that I didn't look like or sound like my normal self. I was very angry, I was very sharp tempered, and I actually was sick for 6 months. Now, did I make that fit the situation? I don't know.
Mhm.
You know,
That's quite odd because I never. Have you, Andy?
What's that, sorry?
Have you ever had what you would consider an attachment after visiting any location?
Never. No, I've
No,
never
no, mate.
experienced it.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I ain't. Right, I'll just scroll down this a bit and find. It was somebody. Oh, that was it. The Saint says, "Would you ever stay overnight in an haunted mansion?" Yes, I would. Um, Solely for the fact that I think a lot of haunted mansions that claim themselves to be haunted actually aren't. I think you got more chance of finding activity, whatever you're looking for, in more general run of the mill, least known places, because I do think you can deplete the energy on a place, or drive things out of there if there's somebody going in there all the while. Andy?
Yes, of course I would. I have done it basically. The big all mansion, whatever you want to call it, in Liverpool.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a good experience to be fair. I mean, because things can like change throughout nights as well. You know, if you
Yeah.
do get some activity, you can go dead for hours, and then
Mhm.
you'll find little spikes at certain points. You know, time frames, and it's interesting to look at that side of things as well.
Mhm.
You know, patterns as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Most definitely. Sam?
I have no problem with it because I don't associate paranormal activity with scariness, to be honest.
Mhm.
In fact, there's a house in County Donegal that if I had the money, I would buy it because it's sitting there locked up since 2000 or 1997, and the last people that were in it um, couldn't take the paranormal activity anymore. And
Right.
I actually would buy that. I would actually buy that house if I had the money.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
uh, So I'm not. The movies and the movies and fiction has a lot to answer for with paranormal activity and being scared.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know, the paranormal activity to me is a kind of it's a science study.
yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Do you know?
I fully agree with you on that, Sam. I think Hollywood has way polluted things too much, and
But then again,
it's given people totally the wrong opinions on certain subjects and certain items, especially things like the Ouija board and and things like that, and even witchcraft and Wicca.
yeah. The other part of this is the human mind is often scared of what they cannot see and cannot understand.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
if we want to put the movies and Hollywood aside,
Yeah.
that's what the human person, the human brain is very often very scared of something that they cannot explain in their logic.
Mhm.
You know,
Right. Saint says, "Have you ever participated in a séance?" Yes, I have. I used to be when I first started getting into the paranormal majorly when I was 15. I actually started with a development circle at a church in Stourbridge, a spiritualist church. Um, and I participated in a séance with a physical medium, and I can honestly say it is one of the most fascinating things I have ever seen in my life. Um, the medium did actually produce ectoplasm, and some really amazing things happened during that séance, including a small child sitting on another woman's lap who was there, and roses raining out of the ceiling. All sorts of weird and wonderful things occurred. And to see ectoplasm itself was an amazing thing. But yeah, yeah, I've participated in a number of seances, but that one was the most memorable. I have never seen a physical medium, and to be honest with you, they're very few and far between nowadays anyway. But I've never seen any physical medium with the caliber of that woman that day. Andy.
Only half-assed ones.
Hmm.
I ain't done any proper,
Yeah, but what do you mean by half-assed? If you've just done them with friends, they're still seances as long as they've been done seriously.
well, semi-seriously.
Hmm. After a few drinks and God knows what, they're never the best time to be doing them.
Well, this is it.
Always the usual time to be doing them, but never the best time to be doing them. Sam,
no, I've never. I know Rachel
are you
has.
saying this in case the priest is listening, or are you being honest?
Oh, I'm being honest. I have
Okay.
been honest. Rachel done it on an investigation, and they asked me, do you want to join in?" And I says, "No, I'll go down to the basement. That's known to have a very scary, demonic or negative
Was that
presence."
because of your religious beliefs, Sam, or because you don't believe they work?
I just I have a very skeptic mind.
Hmm. Yeah.
People sitting around a table with their hands, and is there anybody there? Um, I need to come out of that skeptic mind and be a little bit more open than I am
Hmm.
to do it, that kind of
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I should have got involved. Maybe I should do these things just to satisfy my skeptic mind. Maybe,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I have done.
I do think it's important, Sam, that if ever you do something like that, you do it with somebody who's got experience of it, not because you know they're going to be in any way better. It's just the fact that they tend to know what they're doing more so than fooling around and stuff like that. Make sure you do it with somebody who's reputable rather than somebody who's liable to fake for the sake of attention. You'd have
That's
to.
the Yeah, that's the other thing, is finding somebody that is trustworthy and
Hmm.
reputable,
Yeah.
because it's not something I look into, and it's not something that I get involved with.
Hmm.
You know,
Nikki New said, hang on, let me scroll back up. Uh, have you ever, yeah, been an interesting live tonight. Thanks, Chris. It's been a brilliant live tonight. It's been interesting having a four-way because I've had a chance to talk less tonight and let these three answer a lot more. It's been great. My job's been easy tonight. Nicky New said something about what's your scariest
Scary.
experience. For me, it would be when I was a child, 11, 12, and I went through 8 months of sheer hell with a poltergeist, which was what actually got me into the paranormal in the first place. Um, it did manifest at the end, but that I didn't find scary because I was just that shocked it happened that it was over and done with before, I had a chance to be frightened. But the things that led up to it were probably the scariest period of my life in the paranormal. Sam?
That one's a very hard one to answer. Are we talking about the paranormal sense, or it's a difficult one because I'm not scared of a lot of the paranormal. My scariest experience was going into an abandoned house and going upstairs, and all of a sudden the floor uh, decided to start giving way. I nearly ended up back down in the sitting room without using the stairs.
Oh, God.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I had the abandoned hospital where there was these strange noises, and I was on my own. And actually, I put the camera on myself, and it looked like I seen a ghost.
hmm
And I'm saying, I'm hoping that's an animal. I'm hoping, but you could see I was terrified.
Isn't that not the first time you've gone through a floor, Sam? Haven't you gone through one before and took off the furniture with you?
Oh, that was in a house that I actually was
Yeah,
renting years
yeah.
ago. I moved into a town. I moved into a tourist town, and all the rented houses were rented out to tourists, and all I could get was a rented cottage that I didn't know at the time was just available for rent because the owner was found dead in it and wasn't discovered for weeks.
Right. Not a good start.
Yeah, and the floors were rotten in it. I walked into the sitting room one day, and I went down through the carpet. The carpet took all the furniture, and I ended up down to my waist. And my partner at the time, she came into the room, and she just started laughing. And I says, "Can you help me out?" And she says, "Hold on a wee second." She went in, she got the camera and came in and started taking photographs.
I'd have done exactly the same, I've got to be honest.
And it took her about 10 minutes to help me up because she was buckled over crying laughing.
Yeah, I would have been as well, I've got to be honest. Things like that appeal to my sense of humour.
Yeah,
What's been
but
your
it's
scare? Go on, Sam.
the whole carpet
Went
gave
down the
way,
hole
and
with
it
you.
went down the hole with me, and you could see the bed and the wardrobe and the whole lot started moving towards me.
I think I'd have been taking pictures as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What's been your scariest experience, Andy?
It was when I was part of old team. It was sort of the first proper investigation we'd done,
hmm
and we got an object physically move, and I mean, it was the most spectacular sight I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
It was a K2 meter that twisted, flipped forward like at a I can't remember angle. It actually come like somebody had lent it forward
Yeah.
and then put it back into place, laid back on a bolt. But about half an hour after that happened, we were in an abandoned mill, and like you get the massive steel doors that are like full size of a wall
Yeah.
that on like a roller system. It was like one of them, but they were all like rusted shut.
hmm
And this bloody, you could hear door rolling and echoing through mill.
hmm
It's like it was like dragging it either open or closed. We couldn't tell which way. But panic set into some team members, and it was like run,
Yeah.
you know. So we all started bolting for this bloody exit door,
hmm
and one of girls in the team just kind of froze in the door and went into a blank stare, and we couldn't get past her.
Oh, nice.
And
That
I
never
ended up
helps.
Yeah, I physically had to shove her out of the way, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it was being caught up in other people's terror
It was the
that made
hysteria
it.
spreading.
Yeah, and when we just bolted, we had to
Yeah.
jump out the window that were like smashed with glass all over, and it was just like pure panic, you know. And I
Yeah.
think that was scary. Looking back at it, the sound of the door weren't scary, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like, oh my
It,
word.
that is the only problem investigating with other people is you've got to be careful that you don't feed off their fear.
Yeah,
See, this is what always makes me laugh about Jason because Jason is unpredictable, Andy. He can get, honestly, he can get a bat flapping around him or a bird and he's willing to jump off a bridge in panic. And then other times when you'd think somebody would panic, he doesn't. So
yeah,
you can never gauge with Jace how the reaction's going to be. So I do have to be careful round Jace that I don't feed off him, sort of thing, because you know he is very unpredictable in that manner. He's got no particular type. Spiders and things you can always guarantee he'll be frightened of, but
yeah,
you can never tell how his reaction's going to be. You know, some things that would probably scare the pants off your average person, he wouldn't bat an eyelid out off, and then just because a bat's flying around him, he'll freak out, sort of thing. So you know, you do have to be very careful about other people's fears. James says, "Knew I looked through the window of an empty house and saw a dark pulsating mass. It was almost buzzing with static like a load of bees. It was humming and I could feel the badness coming from it." Can't say that's something I'd want to be looking at through a window, gotta be honest. Have we got any more comments? I'm just scrolling down. Everybody's too busy what's it in? No, that's about it, I think.
Do you know the one thing that stands out with me is the first time that I picked up an EVP when I was abandoned exploring, and that made me turn to the paranormal again, sort of thing.
Hmm.
I remember coming back, and I says, you know, because I was looking at Ghost Adventures, and I actually was a good big fan of Ghost Hunters International, where they bring in their cameras and put them on
Yeah, yeah.
tripods and stuff like that. So I would listen through the audio and that.
Hmm.
And when I was in the abandoned hospital here in Derry, I was listening back to the audio. And when I got an EVP, you know, and that's, you know, that first experience when you hear an EVP, the hair stood up on the back of my head. And I spent half the night just playing that little bit. And
Yeah.
I go, what the hell was that?
Hmm.
You know?
Have either of you ever seen something, been absolutely convinced for months that it was genuine, and then suddenly realised it was something really obvious? Have either of you ever experienced that?
I haven't the visual, but I have the sound.
Hmm. And what was it?
Uh, it was. I feel like a right idiot. You know, I do. I feel, but you've got to tell it.
We've all done it, Andy. We've
You've
all
got to
done
tell
it.
it, right? So you know, last year when we went on holiday, we
Yeah.
did the investigation around beach and that little bit of woodland. Well, we did this really strange experience with a squirrel because I said that, oh, for me intro footage, I want to get this squirrel in slow motion. Now my phone records in slow motion, which is really handy for doing stuff like that.
Hmm.
And this squirrel like started, you know, being nice and posing and wagging its tail for a camera. So I'm approaching it with this slow motion camera, you know,
Hmm.
and getting as much nice footage as I can. And we get this back, and I'm editing video together, and right in the middle of this slow motion, there's this church bell that goes, and it's loud.
Mm.
And you could see it recording, you know, like how it spikes in sound. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what's that? And you hear it, and it goes bong, bong, you know, this church. And I was like, Becky, I said, did you hear a church bell while I was doing that? I says, she goes, no, there ain't no churches in here. And I goes, I know, you know. So it was like, anyway, I got it all edited up, all set out, and I was like, have a listen to this. And I goes, let me just go and check, because it records full speed as well, you know.
Yeah.
So I says, let me just put that footage in, and let me have a look at it. And you know what it was? It was a notification. I forgot to switch my... So because it was slow mo, it bong bong, and it was just a bing bing, you know.
Yeah.
And I was convinced we caught this like church bell EVP.
You thought the Grim Reaper was ringing his bell.
It was good. It was good.
James says he told his mother about the black thing and apparently it had been seen a few times. That's quite interesting. No, I don't like squirrels either, Selena. I've got a severe dislike of squirrels. A severe dislike. I had a nasty experience with one as a kid in the country with my friends and it attacked us and I've never liked them since. It was the most hateful little animal I've ever come across. My mate tried to fend it off with a stick, Andy, I kid you not, and he grabbed the end of the stick and started gnawing on the end of the stick like a beaver. I have never seen anything like it and I can't stand the things since. Can't stand them. Horrible things. Have you ever found a piece of evidence, Sam, and been convinced you found the best evidence ever and then you ain't?
I can't think of that offhand.
Mm-hmm.
The stream just went for a second there. But I can't think of anything offhand. I've had a couple of on the spot jump scares that I thought was figures when I went
Mm-hmm.
into one of the rooms in the hospital, and I was in the dark, and I flashed the torch, and there was Buzz Lightyear and Woody on the fucking knife size on the fucking wall. Fucking scared the shit out of me.
The only one I ever really had was, and it didn't go on for long, it went on for a week. I was on holiday in Cornwall at a static caravan, and I was convinced this static was haunted because in the night there used to be this really horrible thudding noise, and it took me a week to realise there was this fecking seagull that was roosting on, on top of the on top of the static every night, and for some reason it went a walk round at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and it had got this weirdest sound as its feet were flapping around on top of the roof, and I was convinced for the entire week we were there that there was something really malevolent in that thing, and it turned out it was a seagull. I found out about 2 days before we left. It was a frigging seagull on the roof, and for some reason it liked to go for a it went for an early morning walk at about 2, 2 half past 2 every morning. This bloody seagull had go for a walk round the roof, and it had got me convinced for the entire week that the static was haunted. Honestly, it was disturbing. I questioned myself as to whether I'd really seen it, but my mum told me it had been seen a few times. Nikki says, James, I think we all try to question ourselves. We've seen something we can't explain. See, this is the problem nowadays because of programs like Most Haunted and Ghost Adventures. And I don't know what you and Sam think, Andy, but I think that now it's the opposite. People don't question enough. They're just too willing to
Yeah.
believe everything is paranormal.
Oh yeah,
What's your two opinions on that, Andy?
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. It's rife, isn't it? The sort of jumping on it straight away, and
Mhm.
every little noise or creak or crack
Yeah.
or, as you said, dust on a camera.
Yeah.
It is rife in it at the minute, and
Mhm.
there ain't enough questions and looking at stuff logically. You know.
Yeah. Sam.
Well, when you think about paranormal investigators, they're going to a supposedly haunted place, and they're expecting and looking for paranormal activity.
Yeah.
And sometimes that takes over in the mind, which means that if something does happen, because they're in a haunted location, this possibly is the norm.
Yeah.
You know, um, the first reflex should be
Mhm.
what caused that.
Yeah.
Not what ghost did this, or is that a ghost, or jumping on the paranormal straight away.
Yeah.
Go through all the natural don't like to say debunking, but that's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Go through,
that's basically what it is, Sam. You've got to debunk, before you make any sort of claim.
yeah.
You've got to narrow everything down.
There's
And
a
it's
couple, yeah.
go
There's
on.
a couple of processes through this.
Mhm.
Try to find a natural explanation,
Yeah.
but then the middle one, the next one up is there a possibility that there is a natural explanation and you just didn't find it?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And then you can possibly look into the unexplained. Very, very
Mhm.
hard to put, in a natural sense, and if you look at it in a logical point of view, getting that label with the word paranormal on it, you're very, very rarely going to stick that label on it
Yeah.
because you're going to say very often that that is unexplained.
Yeah.
And the reason why you say that it's unexplained is because you you look through all the natural causes,
Mhm.
but there's possibly something that I missed. But this is extremely interesting.
Mhm.
I very, very rarely stick that paranormal label on something.
Yeah. I always say it's called the paranormal for a reason because the normal is a lot more frequent. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
There are going to be 1,000 normal explanations for every paranormal one. And I do think it's as a result of programs like Most Haunted and Ghost Adventures and stuff like that. But I do also think the paranormal community as an whole, there are elements of it that are responsible for it. There are channels you can go and watch every day, and you watch them, and they're putting this evidence forward, and you can see straight away there's a natural explanation, but they will not even consider it. They straight away go to the fact that it is a paranormal thing going on. When for anybody who's rational and um, I won't say skeptical, but I will say approach things scientifically. You could give 10 reasons as to what they're experiencing before you even touch on anything paranormal. James says, Brett, I totally agree. Not enough questioning. Every man, Jack, and his dog are so quick to label everything paranormal, or the modern trend of everything is a Desmond. Totally agree, James. Totally agree. It's like when people are going in woods and they're hearing twigs snapping and stuff, and straight away it's something evil's following them. Now it's probably a badger or a fox. You're in a wood for Christ's sake with a load of nocturnal wildlife.
yeah. The other thing is, you got these people that decide, they look at Ghost Adventures and they look at Most Haunted and stuff like that, and they get the itch that they want to go out and they want to
Mhm.
experience this for themselves. In some ways, that's good. But the
Yeah.
thing is, when they go out, they're expecting what happened on the television to happen to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they want to experience that firsthand. Now,
Yeah.
in some ways, it's great. It encourages people. People are sitting down, they're getting up off the sofa, and they're
Mhm.
getting some of this equipment, and they're going out and they're going to do it for themselves. That's a good thing. The only thing is, you have to take the TV show apart
Yeah.
and look at it in a logical kind of way. The TV show is a business.
Mhm.
And in order to make a business, you need the customers. And how are you going to get the customers? You're going to get them. You're going to dangle a carrot. And what's that? Is excitement every 20 seconds.
Yeah. And
You know.
this is what, like you're saying, a lot of people are under the impression that you go out, you can just go to any old location, and you're going to be having things happening to you every 30 seconds, and it simply doesn't happen. To be honest with you, I'd say 9 times out of 10, nothing happens. A good example for us is me and Jace went to Conisbrough Castle in the summer just gone, and due to noises and stuff, we didn't pick anything up. But we got no real evidence there. But we also got a lot of noise pollution as well, which weren't helping. So I could have gone there and I could have made what we picked up on the spirit box into a video and claimed this, that, and the other. But I don't bother because for me the quality of the evidence weren't good enough to put it into a video. I just don't do it. I don't see the point of it. All they're missing is the drum roll.
Well, do you know what I do? When I do an investigation, if it's 3.5, 4 hours, you know, do you know when you say edit a video, you take your best bits, you put them together, you put an intro and outro, and you put your video together. I would like to be creative, but I would do it in other content. When I do an investigation, I just get every single file and I line them all up. This is what happened that night.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, minute by minute, and let nothing out.
Yeah.
You know?
See, the way I tend to do mine, and Andy does, is a bit similar as well. Is I say I've got like a complete section. If I've got something that I want to point out to people, I will split the video at that point, put in a textual description saying at this point we did blah 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 blah, but then I will immediately put the other half of that video right back next to that text. I don't cut anything out. I may put a description in of what I've been doing, but I don't actually cut any of the video out. The video literally starts again from where I cut it to add the text or anything in. All my videos are literally from start to finish.
Yeah, mine's quite linear as well.
Yeah, I've never done the jumping around and missing bits out and stuff. The only time I would ever do that is if, and Wombwell Woods is a good example where you may have a 15-minute walk from one location to the next.
Yeah.
Now on a video, people ain't going to want to watch you walking from, that 15 minutes down the road from one location to the next through Wombwell. So I'd stop it and say, we're moving to the next location. But the second I got to that next location, I would then start filming again with us setting up and stuff. That's how I've done it. I obviously don't put the 15 minutes of me walking through the trees to the next location, because who the hell wants to watch 15 minutes of trees where you're just having a general chat.
Yeah. I put everything in as naturally as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And, nearly every investigation somebody's dropped a bone trump. And it stays in.
Yeah, I would do if anything like that happened.
You know.
James says not enough respect either. A lot just dive in with an ounce of respect, and apparently then saying they had the devil come through, and every other word is evil or 666. I personally think they are on their own, no harm. Yeah. See, and the other thing you got to take into consideration is a lot of people who do it haven't really, and this is no disrespect to them, but I've been into the paranormal for over 30 years. I've read a lot of stuff, I've seen a lot of stuff, I've done a lot of stuff. So, I've got I ain't an expert by any way, shape or form, but I have got a nice broad knowledge of things that have happened within the paranormal and within certain areas. But you get people who've only been in it a year or so, and they do things, and they're and I ain't saying they're doing it deliberately, but they do put things out that are factually incorrect, or they just take what other people are telling them as being gospel when it's not. The key to good paranormal, I always think, is research the arse off it and then go back and research it again. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of stuff out there now where you look at it and there's a lot of modern new age. A lot of the new age stuff has been brought in and that kind of thing, and while it's interesting, a lot of it is not really factual, or it's based on a fact but has been warped to fit modern things, and it tends not to sit very well with me. Would you say so, Andy?
Oh yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
It really doesn't. It doesn't sit well with me at all, at all. And I've always said, if people don't agree with me, come on here and say so. I'm quite happy to discuss anything and listen to anybody else's point of view, but you've got to understand that you've also got to be prepared to listen to mine as well. Simple as.
Yeah. Maverick had an interesting question there. What would you guys consider as the holy grail of evidence?
To me now, it would have to be something appearing in front of thousands of live witnesses that simply could not be put down to fakery. It would be like an old stadium full of people at a football match and have something manifest in the middle of the pitch. Because, as much as we put our video forward nowadays with modern technology, there is always that element of doubt that something's been tampered with. It would have to be something that was so undeniable, witnessed by so many people that it could not be denied. Sam?
Yeah, you brought up a point there. The a team that asked me to work with them
Mm-hmm.
asked me, why do I put my stuff up on YouTube? Why
Mm-hmm.
do you need to prove
Mm-hmm.
things to other people? All you need to do is prove it to yourself.
Yeah.
So if I had my camera set up in a place and something fell or something was thrown that did not look natural, that would be holy grail evidence to me. Now people could say, well, you put a piece of fishing line on it and you
Yeah.
edit the fishing line out.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not in it for that. I'm not in it for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, look what I caught.
Yeah.
I
That. Yeah.
documented it. It's my diary.
Yeah.
You're welcome to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I have YouTube is that I can document and I can have a diary and I can look back on
Yeah.
things that I've done.
Yeah.
I'm not here for popularity. So
Mm-hmm.
if something is thrown that I seen with my two eyes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that does not look a natural way of throwing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a natural fall or anything like
Yeah.
that, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I would consider that a holy grail of evidence, even though
Yeah.
people would say, oh, you put a piece of string on that and you
Yeah.
just said
See,
it out.
that was why I was coming from the thing of proving to others what would be the holy grail to prove to others. And that was why I said it would have to be thousands of people eyewitnessing it at once. For it to be put out there for people, for thousands of people to say, yeah, this is what happened, and it would have to be consistent with what they said. Andy?
I agree with both your points that you've said. And in your respect, Brett, in front of thousands of people, it's undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously you can't top that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also agree with Sam's personal holy grail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had more than enough things happen to me to prove
yeah.
for me.
And
For
I
me
think this is why we're
personally.
all still here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely both
Mm-hmm.
fairly good.
As they often say, it's about the ghost, not the host.
That's right. That's right.
It's about activity. If we didn't have the paranormal, we wouldn't have any content. We would have to make other kinds of videos. So at the end of the day, it's about the paranormal. It's not about us at all.
Saint has said, your views. Can you convince me if I am right or wrong? I dislike the term dead people. I think that's supposed to be deceased. To me, is more respectful. For me, I don't mind either term because they are dead people. It's just a descriptive term, and I don't think a person who's passed on would take offence at you calling them dead because that's what they are. Um, if anything, most common people would probably react better to the term dead than deceased. If you're talking about your everyday Joe public in the street, if you said to them, "Are you dead or deceased?" I'd go, "Oh, I'm dead." But for me, that's just a personal term. I don't think calling a dead person dead would be offensive to them. Andy?
So that again, sorry, I just got a notification right to read.
Saint says, "Can you convince me if I am right or wrong? I dislike the term dead people. Deceased to me is more respectful." And I said, "Well, to be honest with you, I don't think they'd bother either way."
No, I don't think we personally bother for people that believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Sam?
Well, I ask the question, "Are you dead?" And I kind of go, that's. I get where she's coming from.
Yeah, yeah.
Deceased is a more respectable word, but the reason why I say, "Are you dead?" and I go, "No," like, what a question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I ask that, because in the past I've had responses, "We are dead," "I am dead," and they're using that word. So if that's the word that they possibly would use, I will use it
Yeah,
towards them to
yeah,
see if I can get a response.
yeah,
Deceased, deceased. It might be a word that's difficult for them to manipulate to send out to us.
yeah,
Whatever way the spirit box works, there's loads of theories.
yeah. It's
So
like
I
I
try to
was
keep
just,
it.
it's like I was just saying about the Joe Public thing, Sam. If you went to your average working class person and said, and showed them a picture of a dead person and said, describe this person, they're more liable to say dead than deceased. Because it's a more general term, and that's why I think, if it is dead people you're talking to, they'd probably identify more with the term dead than deceased. But I
Have you
don't think
ever
they'd
asked?
mind either.
Have ever you two ever have had a question about spirit asking if you're dead?
I actually had one once that was a really weird one that kept asking me where I was.
Right.
And I kept saying, I'm here on Earth, and they were insistent I wasn't.
Yeah.
But I've
Yeah.
never had one actually ask me if I'm dead.
Yeah, we have before.
But I have had one that was convinced, that kept telling me I wasn't on Earth. So I don't know where they thought I was.
I've actually had the phrase "not a ghost" as well come
Hmm.
through.
Oh, I've had not a ghost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so have I actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've had not a ghost, and I've also had not dead.
yeah, I've
Strange
had
little
that too.
thing.
Yeah.
James, Brett, what do you think to the trend of so many people saying they are witches when so many of them have absolutely no knowledge whatsoever?
Ah,
Um, do you want me to have an honest answer? I think if a person is forcing down your throat constantly that they are a witch or Wiccan or whatever, then I think, and this may offend people, but this is just my personal view. I think they are more in love with the fact of people knowing they're a witch than actually what witchcraft and paganism and Wicca stands for. Andy?
oh, this is a touchy subject.
I'm, I'm just being honest.
Yeah. Let me just have a look at that question again. I've got it right. Yeah, same. This is going to go through a broad range of different things as well. What people are into. You're always going to get some people that like to say it just because it makes them look cool or whatever.
Hmm.
But what you'll usually find, and that it comes into play with what Brett said as well about if they're having to constantly ram it down your throat, then be a bit wary on it. But
They're the pagan form of Jehovah's Witnesses for my liking,
yeah,
Andy.
well, yeah. I'm not saying that they don't actually do it or they don't
Yeah,
believe in
no, I
it,
ain't saying they
whatever.
don't believe in it. I just think they're more in
Yeah,
love with the idea of other people knowing it.
yeah, and usually they're the ego style people as well.
Hmm.
A lot of their stuff will be based around ego. Um, and then on opposite hand, you've got like such as me that likes to refer what we do to
Hmm.
book a theory.
Yeah,
Because I'll say like, as you know, we practice witchcraft and we do this in this situation. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
It's just to reinforce a theory kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, me and Brett personally, we know a lot of people that are into it that are very theatrical with it
Hmm.
as well, and I think that's
Yeah,
another thing. It's
yeah,
all theatrics, all for
yeah,
sure,
yeah.
and you get this in a lot of different subjects as well. You know, so you just be wary to see, you know.
Selena says, "What is Sammy laughing at?" Lol. She skipped back the video to when she was playing with the little stones. Selena.
No, I was waiting for you to ask me the same question which you asked Andy.
Go on, Sam.
And you know, if you're going to ask me the same question, I says, well, let's take a look at the first couple of words in that question. Brett, what do you think?
Hmm.
So the question was towards you, not us.
Yeah, but I don't like to answer the
Yeah,
question and not get your opinions as well.
I know. Um, You see, I don't know much about witches and stuff. You know, I only started to ask questions in the crystal shop. What is all this other things, and what is all this other? Is it lifestyles? What would I call it? I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't know. What is these other practices? You know,
Yeah.
so I don't know much about this stuff. You know,
Hmm.
um, are people into wearing certain clothes or doing certain things or having certain things or performing certain things. I don't know very much about this. I can't really make much of a comment on it because I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
There's white witches and all different color witches. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
have.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Breaching into bad territory with Brett there with colours. He's holding.
moving swiftly on.
There are no colours in magic, Sam.
Right, right. I
No
mean,
tension, Bill.
It is my biggest pet hate when you get people going, "I'm a white witch. I'm a weather witch. I'm a nature witch." No, you're just a witch. It's what you do with it that counts. You aren't one or the other. You're just a witch if you practice witchcraft. You're not a white witch or a grey witch or a black witch or the bloody red witch. You're just a
yeah,
witch.
yeah. It would be a right thing for me to actually comment on that because I don't know the lifestyle. I don't know what this is all about. It's a learning thing for me.
Hmm.
So I can't give an opinion on it. I just can't. I'm not trying to find a scapegoat for this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
Where I'm being honest.
Hmm.
I am actually being honest about it.
Hmm. Selena's just said to me, "Do I read the angel cards?" No, I don't read the angel cards, Selena, for a number of reasons. One, I am used to reading traditional style decks, and I like the imagery of them. Angel tarots are something, I don't believe in angels, so I can't relate to the imagery on them anyway. And angel tarot decks tend to be more of a story with a card rather than the card actually representing different elements. They tend to be like a little mini story with each card. So no, I
Yeah.
I don't read angel. I ain't saying they don't work, but I think telling somebody the same little pre-written story on a card for me just ain't what it's about.
Yeah, I have angel cards, and you go to the book to a certain page,
Mhm.
and you read that out. Do
Yeah.
you know why I bought the angel cards? Because I like the pictures.
Mhm.
I
See
just
now,
I like the I
now
like the art.
I'm the opposite, Sam, because I don't believe in angels and demons. I can't relate to them, and
Yeah,
and I work on my tarot. And I've said to people there is nothing psychic about using tarot cards. They are totally based on intuition. So you know, I've got to have some kind of connection with them. And angels, I just look at them and think fictional, and I'll just get nothing off them. But that's just me personally. The
fate
Saint
is
says
in.
Brex, my ex-wife, believes she was a witch. It's the only thing that I agreed on.
Okay.
People are too, from in my opinion, people are just too quick to to ban the witch term around nowadays, and um, same with psychics and stuff like that. Everybody knows my opinion on armchair mediums. When people are just sitting there and claiming all sorts on videos, to me, experience that I've had with mediums at spiritualist churches, no way would they be churning out information on at the speed that these armchair mediums do on your YouTube videos. I don't know whether they're trying to fool themselves or fool other people, or whether they do genuinely believe that they're getting this stuff. But from the experience I've had with mediums, there is no way that they would be able to do it by watching the video, and two, do it at the quantity that they spit things out. Because you find a lot of them that, they're sensing something every 10, 15 seconds, and it just jumps all over the place. Really not what I'm used to. But again, that is just my personal opinion. For all I know, they could be. But all I will say is, of the mediums I have worked with in the past, no medium I have ever worked with has operated in that manner, in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, there's people that told me that I'm uncontrolled sensitive, which I sense stuff when I don't want to sense it or whatever.
Yeah.
Can go into a location and I can sense things. I can't pin it down to what I can't say that there's a lady standing in the corner and all that kind of stuff. But I can't do that through a video. I need to be in a place to sense energy. But that's all I can say it is. But there's no way I can do that through a TV screen.
Yeah.
So I don't fully understand it.
If that's what people want to do and that's what they want to accept, that's up to them. But like I say, from personal experience, and I'm going back right to when I was 15, and I'm 50 now, so we're talking 35 years. I have not once in all that time encountered a medium who would do it like a lot of these people do it on YouTube. I've just never encountered it. And I do think it's just a modern fad. I think a lot of people do it because they're lonely and stuff like that, and it somehow makes them feel special or whatever. But whatever the motivations, it's up to them. But personally, I don't encourage it. I do not encourage armchair mediums on my channel. I wouldn't be nasty to anybody if they came on and did it, but I would tell them in a polite manner that I couldn't accept unless stuff coming through the spirit box or whatever at the time was collaborating what they were saying after they said it. Fair enough, but I wouldn't just take everybody at face value who claims they're a medium exactly the same way I wouldn't. I'm very dubious of people who try to ram the fact that they're a witch down your throat like it's something to be bandied about, when it's a personal belief system, and the majority of what I would consider genuine pagans, like anybody else with their religion, don't force it down your throat constantly as some kind of banner, should I say.
Yeah. Do you know, if I intend to do a live at some stage, a live investigation and stuff. But the thing is, I'm doing the investigation. You're welcome to watch.
Yeah.
But I'm doing the investigation. I'm going to do, and I'm going to use, if I use a piece of equipment, I'm going to use that piece of equipment because I feel that's appropriate.
Yeah.
For that part of the building or that part of the location, because I am there. I'm not going to turn to the audience and say, right, you've got a choice. I've got a Roberts here, I've got a PSP7, I've got the S box here. Take your choice, guys. That's not the way it works with me. When I do an investigation, I'm doing the investigation.
Yeah.
You can watch. And I'm not being nasty to people or anything like that. Yes, I will engage with people, but I will engage with people at certain times. I'm not going to be looking at that screen and reading chat the whole way through an investigation, because if you're looking at the screen, what are you missing?
Yeah.
You need to have your eyes, your ears, you need to concentrate on your work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the last couple of investigations, I've gone into this stage where I just put the camera on a tripod and I just move the tripod around. I'm not even carrying the camera.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I don't. You know, I'm not going to ask for feedback on a live stream
Mm-hmm.
to influence an investigation. I'm doing the investigation. The viewers are welcome to watch.
Yeah.
You know,
James has asked a question, and I'm going to answer it, and then I'm going to ask you too. Brett, do you think all humans once had psychic abilities which we have now lost? We can still sense if somebody is staring at us, if somebody is behind us, but we seem to have lost the others. Personally, James, I don't believe we've lost them. I personally believe that we all still have them, but they are dormant in most people. And I believe that, if you're willing to relearn them, everybody can learn things up to a point. But I do believe that some people are more adept at certain things than others. Andy?
Completely agree. And I think I'm a big believer that modern lifestyles are a factor.
Mm-hmm.
I always have done. So, and I know we're bridging into realms of conspiracies again
Mm-hmm.
with this, but I believe that things that are put into place, for example, the fluoride in the water,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of a factor in dampening the sensors.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think one of the best plausible reasons for a control system to be in place would be to dampen that kind of behaviour in people. Um, and, to make people easier controllable.
Yeah. Yeah.
To not have sort of these, intuitions or these psychic
Yeah.
abilities
Yeah.
or,
Well,
it's a threat. Yeah,
we know governments have researched paranormal extensively, Andy, and
yeah.
what have they discovered that they have since put into use?
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
and I know that sounds a bit tin foil hat, but a lot of the paranormal investigatory work that the governments did during the Cold War is still considered top secret now. Why would they need to keep it top secret if they'd found it was all a load of bunkum?
Exactly.
Sam?
yeah, um, there's parts of the brain that is kind of dormant in that, and I think the reason for that is the way we are all brought up, the way we depend now on technology, the way we bring up our children, the disciplines we put in place. You know, we teach our children this is the way we should act because this is the norm. This
Yeah.
is we're
Conditioning,
following.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a conditioning thing,
It is conditioning.
And if you had a family living in the woods with no knowledge of modern technology and other people's behaviour,
You
you
mean
would
like
possibly
people in Wales?
you would possibly see that part of the brain being more open. And
Hmm.
as well as that, you take the human body. Some people that have the disabilities, a physical disability like they can't walk, that ability is taken away from them, but they tend to have extra abilities in something else, and they develop that. Even when you think of Stephen Hawking, whose body didn't work at all, even his voice didn't work, but his brain was absolutely fantastic. You know?
Yeah. Fees put there, I think as we grow up, some of us block them out. This is something I always say, Fee. I think as children, we are taught at some point, that what we are seeing, we shouldn't be, and we develop mental filters, and I think it's all psychological, and it's all. And I think this is why kids tend to see things clearer or a lot more because those filters aren't in place at the time. And I think as we get older, our brain as some kind of defense mechanism now against against what we've been conditioned to believe we should be seeing. It's the brain protecting itself from what it's been taught to believe. But I do believe you can remove these filters if you stick at it. Tracy said, Sammy, I just want to say thank you for the tinfoil tip for reducing the static on my PSP. It's worked a treat.
That wasn't actually me. But I do use Faraday cages and stuff like that. That actually wasn't me that said that. But I actually taken that tip myself when I tried it today, and it does work. And technically it should work because technically it is a Faraday cage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But I actually do know the person that you're speaking of, yeah.
Mm-hmm. James says exactly. The government has done mounds of research into the paranormal, and like you say, many of the results of the experiments, for example, with the ESP, are still highly classified. They're still top secret. Saint says fascinates me human behaviour. I can read people quickly. Psyche is a marvellous tool. I'm exactly the same, Saint, and I always say to people, I'm intuitive. I'm not psychic, and there is a difference. Tracy says, Brett, will you be doing the monthly psychic test? Job is this month. Yes, Andy will be pleased to know I'll be doing them next Friday.
Oh,
Um,
brilliant.
I was going to do them this Friday, but because we'd arranged with Orbs Realm to cover the Orbs, and we were having a that's how I've got to be careful what I say here. We were having a four-way stream. I decided to push it back till next week. So Andy will be having his best glittery dress on, and we'll be doing the psychic testing again next Friday. And you've got to try and defeat Becky. Now I warn you, Becky has been consistent for both months we've done this. Sam was dodgy. Sam was brilliant on the first month and extremely flaky on the second month. So I don't know whether it's going to make a comeback this month or not. But Becky has been consistent both months, so it's going to be a tough job for you to beat Becky. So yes, we'll be doing the psychic stuff next Friday. It would have been.
Becky can get all that stuff like she does, right? But she doesn't know when I'm like, do a drink
I
or.
know. I always say this. I always say this to Jace because he's always claiming he's psychic. I go, you never know when I want a cup of coffee. I have to ask.
I'm gagging for a packet of crisps or something like that. And she's
Yeah.
doing, she'll just not know about it.
Yeah. Tracy says, get your frock ready, Andy.
Oh,
He's got a wardrobe full of them, Tracy. We never know which one he's going to whip out.
I might treat you all to chicken soup I'm going to buy next
Oh
week.
God, I nearly choked earlier on when you put that on Facebook.
Big bird.
Yeah, kicking the door in.
Tracy B says, "Oh, sorry, I thought it was you, Sam, last week." That tinfoil thing, it's common with a lot of researchers, and it's common with
We did actually discuss it on a stream the other day, Sam.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's common with a lot of researchers, and it's a common thing for researchers to prevent static bursts and interference. I mean, we used to cover a lot of things. We used to cover the recorders and everything with tinfoil.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't a Faraday cage big enough to put the big recorder in there.
Mm-hmm. Go on, Sam. Sorry.
I'm finished. Go on ahead.
Well, I was watching a video the other day that was concerning Faraday cages and things like spirit boxes and radios, and they did actually confirm that the tin foil or the aluminium foil works better than a wire caged Faraday for radios and spirit boxes.
You can actually get pouches, on
Yeah,
eBay.
yeah,
I've ordered a
yeah.
couple of them. They're only a couple of pounds. There is a lot for keys for cars, but you can get them for phones. You can get them all sizes and that. So I got a couple for my PSP7 and a couple of them, and especially that S box, which has an interference problem.
Yeah, but
So,
as far as the psychic testing goes, I can assure you, I don't even tell Andy what order I've done those cards
Nope.
in or what those three images are, and obviously the one in the middle, the spinning wheel, is totally random anyway. So that is done every month. It is done totally fairly. Not even Andy knows what order I've picked the cards in. Do you?
I have got no idea. You don't tell me nothing.
No, I don't even tell Andy.
But you
Because
could have try and take part anyway.
yeah, because Andy likes to join in anyway, and he proves about as good at it as I do. So there you go. But you've definitely got strong competition with Becky when it comes to the psychic testing because she literally has been consistent both months. No problem, Gay. You have a good day. I hope everybody's keeping safe in Australia. If anybody's on in the mornings, I can strongly recommend that you watch Unearthly Wanderings and Feast Paranormal Journey. Two Australian channels that are normally on round about 9 o'clock our time, and they're absolutely brilliant if you're at a loose end first thing on the morning. Um, Very down to earth. Um, Corrupt me all the while I'm on there. They really do. 5 minutes and me innocence has gone out the window. They're both as bad as one another, but yeah, Fee's Paranormal Journey and Unearthly Wanderings. Sam watches them as well. Highly recommend them if you want to watch early morning
I remember
paranormal
the
in the UK.
I remember when they cut their hair in solidarity for the little animals and stuff,
Hmm.
during the fires and that. And they invited me on stream and I couldn't go on because my camera wasn't ready. But I actually cut my hair.
Yeah, I was on there
On
that
stream.
night.
Yeah,
I was
even
I, I was
before.
trying to get him to cut the carpets as well as the curtains, but they were having none of it.
Uh, yeah,
Neither Fee or Julie would agree to it.
you
I'll
know.
have to Coopers.
Yeah,
And then I found out when they did cut my hair, it suited me better. you know.
it did. He looked really nice when you did it, Sam.
Yeah.
James says papers were released about an experiment where a Russian guy could psychically see inside an American military compound, and apparently he knew things which was impossible for him to know. It was working from all sides, James. The British government did a lot of experimentation, as did the US government, and I believe the Chinese were doing it as well as the Russians. It was a very big thing, especially during the Cold War, and a lot of what they actually discovered was, up to the present day, is still kept as above top secret. So what
You
they
watch
worked at,
that Project Blue Book?
yes,
Yeah, they covered it in that, didn't they, with
yep,
CIA
yep, yep,
doing a lot of viewing on that. Yeah,
yeah,
I thought it was pretty good.
and even a lot of the stuff that they've released has got a lot of redacted sections in it.
Yeah.
And if they were researching it and they found nothing, why do they feel the need to hide things? There's you
Is
know
it
there's
is it
absolute.
a, is it a bit like a big version of what's in the box?
Basically, Sam, what they were doing, they were trying to train astral projectors so that they could project into bases and stuff of rival nations and literally read top secret documents on desks and stuff, and from the bits that the UK and the American government and the Russians have released, they at least had partial success with it to what they've admitted to. They were doing also that they were even trying to train psychic assassins at one point to literally psychically assassinate someone from a distance.
Right.
Selena says, I've seen something about all the dead fledgling birds recently. What's the thoughts on that? See, birds are a funny one because you get these reports when flocks suddenly smash into people's houses and stuff like that. I'm not 100% convinced it's paranormal. I think there's a more natural explanation of fluctuating magnetic fields in areas is causing it.
There's a lot of stuff with 5G as well,
Yeah,
isn't there?
yeah, yeah. I'm not 100% convinced that's a paranormal occurrence. I think there's more natural explanations to it. They did, Brett. Apparently, some were quite successful. Yeah, they were, James. Yeah, but as for the birds, Selena, I do think a lot of it's like Andy said, one to do with the radio waves, the man-made ones, but I think a lot of it is to do with the Earth's natural fluctuations as well. Because what a lot of people don't realise is we are actually overdue for the poles to flip. From what they were saying, from what I was reading the other day, they're expecting the poles to flip at any time.
Yeah, with the whales and dolphins washing up, they believe that one of the theories was that it was ultrasound sound or something like that.
Yeah, from the, no, that was mermaids, Sam. Mermaids were driving them onto the coasts, definitely. Look at Sam's face. Yeah, they were. That they seem to think, things like submarines and fishing sonars and all sorts of stuff. I mean, if you think about it, I don't know what I think. Dorothy's gone off, but she's the dolphin expert. They are. They're very. They're built around ultrasound and stuff like that. Dolphins and whales, so it's got to be affecting them. Jane says, "I know it's not paranormal, but Bolton got a wildfire at Winter Hill." Thanks for that, Jane. I have absolutely no idea where Winter Hill is in Bolton.
I just had a notification for a video.
Hmm.
Poop Challenge 2020 lockdown.
I think I'll give that one a miss.
Yeah, gee, man.
I will definitely give that one a miss. What's your opinion on the whales and dolphins, Andy?
I've got none. I ain't really heard out. I've been, what's happening? I ain't been following
When
any.
when they're beaching themselves in the families beach themselves on the on
Oh,
various
right,
beaches. Do you
yeah.
think it's mermaids? Do you think we can convince Sam it's mermaids?
If it's in mermaids, it's definitely something to do with kelpies,
Yeah, yeah,
isn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Kelp is taking a bite out of each one, driving them onto the beaches. And they do it so when all the suckers from Greenpeace come to push them back in the sea, they get them as well. Oh, I'm coughing through laughing now. That's it. I've got to isolate for 2 weeks. A bit off topic, but what's all your thoughts on Atlantis? Did it exist or not? Yes, I believe it existed. No, I don't believe it was what they make it out to be. Personally, I think it was probably one of the cities in the Mediterranean because when the seas rose, they rose about 400 meters at one point, and there are loads and loads of cities in the Mediterranean that are actually underwater now, and I just think Atlantis was one of them. Andy?
I actually believe one of the theories closest is that it's actually Antarctica.
Right.
There's a really old explorer map that has got Atlantis written on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it matches exactly up to Antarctica
Right.
with the caverns and everything, but there's no ice, it's all landmass.
Yeah,
There's like
because
three.
isn't there is actually land under Antarctica? Is it Antarctica with land under it?
Yeah, I think
One
it
of
is.
them's got land and one of them hasn't. I can't remember which way
Yeah,
round
yeah.
it is.
Yeah, and it all matches up with caverns and water, bloody streams and everything.
Yeah.
So it could quite possibly be that.
Mm-hmm. Sam, what's your opinion on Atlantis?
You'll have to explain what Atlantis is first. Is that a city under the sea?
It was supposed to be a fabled city where there was, they were an advanced race and it mysteriously sank into the sea, but nobody's ever actually worked out where it was. Can't believe you've never heard of Atlantis, Sam. Did you never
I
watch
did.
Never watch Man from Atlantis as a kid with Patrick Duffy in it?
No,
Oh,
no,
can you remember
no.
that, Andy?
No, I don't know.
You can't remember Man from Atlantis with Bobby Ewing out of Dallas?
No.
Oh, God.
Um, I've seen documentaries of cities under the sea, but you know that was because of water level rises, I think.
Yeah. There,
You know.
there are an awful lot of them, believe it or not, in the Mediterranean basin that are
Yeah.
underwater. Loads of them. Chris says they used to give LSD to the military. They did. Apparently, they did it a lot during the Vietnam War and stuff like that to keep them going, sort of thing. Yeah, that's right, Selena. I'm with Sammy. Don't know about it. Selena, you've never heard of Atlantis? Come on. You're into the paranormal and you've never heard of Atlantis? Can you believe that, Andy? How many people have not heard of Atlantis? LSD keeps you awake for over 12 hours. I hear, lol. Coffee does that for me, Selena. I don't need LSD.
Mm.
I just drink loads of coffee. I'm talking about coffee. I need one in a minute. Right, guys. I think I'm going to call it a night because it's actually 1:45 and we've been going for nearly 4 hours now. So I'd like to say thank you, as I normally do, to everybody who's come in and joined the stream. You do help make these streams because it's always nice to see your questions and your opinions on anything. And I'd also like to say thank you to Andy and Sam who are still in here. And I'd also like to thank Brendan, if you can wait through the rest of this video to watch the end of it, for coming in tonight. So, thank you all very much. Sam and Andy, would you want to say your goodbyes?
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
There you go. Look,
Yeah.
Andy, Selena said she'd never heard of the Fae till she came here.
Oh,
See,
well.
you're doing well.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll wish you all a good night. Everybody keep yourself safe. Please stay in. Do not go out unless you've got to. You know, unless you need to get some shopping or medicine or medical emergency. Keep yourselves inside and keep yourselves safe. And we'll see you all. You all right for Sunday, Andy?
Sorry. Yeah,
You.
definitely.
We'll see you all on Sunday for the card reading then. Have a good night, everybody. And see you all on Sunday for your card readings. Have a good
Good
night,
night,
all.
everybody.
Bye.